Ha! Never fear. Cable tie is here. Way to go, Peter. You just made it. Yeah, cool. Cheers, everyone. Hi. Good morning. I hope my sound is working. Yeah, I think it's working. Hopefully you can't hear me slurping my coffee through my lapel mic, which looks ridiculous. Need something I can stick on my head. A little thing hanging down with the microphone just in front of my face. What do you reckon? Hi everyone, it's muggy today. I got my air conditioning on already here. So yesterday was one of my warmest days I've had in here so far, and it wasn't even that hot. It was like 26 degrees outside. It was pretty warm. Like when you walked outside, it definitely felt more than 20, 25, 26. But I had the oven running all day yesterday, so 300 degrees downstairs, and heat risers. And yeah, it was getting a bit sweaty up in here. So I've actually bought shorts today. It's going to be 29, and I need to pick and place after the stream all day today. So I've brought myself some shorts, and I've got the aircon on already just to keep the temperature down. It's going to be a real interesting summer here. So I mean, that's what the air conditioning's for. That's what I put it in for. But I wasn't expecting to have to kick it in already. I hope everyone is well. I am going to do a quick run through the chat and say hi to folks. Adam, good morning. Yoma Prime, hello. Alan, Antonio, Flowrider65. Don't hit the snooze button. Beata, Andy Calloway, Johnny, hello to you all. Christopher, Dutch Taurus, hi. Henrik, David Essa, Graham Noobs. This is not scrolling very well. What's going on? Andy Day, hello. Crazy Roops, Embedded Hobbyist, Paul's Project, hi. Dave Paul Jones, Peter, Cable Tie, of course. Adam Bryant, hello. Did I say hi to Adam? I already did. You're the very first one. Luminator, hello. Andy Mouse, Squeak, Sergeant Bond. I really should increase the font size of this screen. That's really annoying. Rhoda, hello. Mark, hello, Mark. And Emmy Cooker. Sorry, Emma. I was looking Cookie already. Emma Cookie Monster. Hi, Emma. Cookies, please. X-Micron, hello. Marius, hi. Rob, hello, Rob. Okay, have I got everyone? Johnny, hello. Jeremy, I said hi to Johnny already. Wow, I'm doing a really bad job of this morning, aren't I? I did Adam and Johnny twice. Anyway, Jeremy, hi. John Meeking, hello. Yeah, so if you saw the size of the font on my screen right now, it's tiny. And I don't know why. I must have shrunk down a web page somewhere. You know how if you shrink the text on a web page, it makes all of your web pages shrink down? I must have done that. I should really make this bigger. Oh, that's better. Oh my God. I can read that from here now. That was crazy. DIY, hello. Yeah, I just needed to make the font bigger. I must have, yeah, I do that sometimes. Like sometimes you go to a website and everything's just too big on it. So I shrink it down and then I forget that it shrinks everything down. So, hey Clem, how you doing? Alexandru, hello. You gotta do logo GIF Pac-Man. You gotta add the GIF if it's changing a GIF. If
Mark
I,
Olsen says testing 1 2 3.
yeah, why was that so fast? But yes, that tested. It did. Wow, rough start. It's actually even a worse start this morning. I've spent the last hour looking for a box that I can't find. I'm sure it's here somewhere because there's really nothing left at home. But there's no such thing as too much coffee. Peter, no such thing as too much coffee. Cheers.
We Are the Borg says, oh my darling Clementine.
Is it Christmas? Says, have you tried looking for it down back of sofa?
Yeah, no, it's not there. It's too big to go down the back of the sofa. But hey, crazy boy. So what's in the box are built versions of what I'm going to show you today. My first and only prototypes.
Still a squirrel, and says coffee.
Coffee indeed. I'm not sure if I mentioned last stream, I'm on oat milk now. I used to do almond milk, but now I'm doing oat.
Is it Christmas? Says, do you take the £10 note or the box?
£10 note or the box? Oh, right. That's very funny. I'll take the £10 note because I'm not sure that what's in the box has any value.
Is it Christmas? Says the box, the box, the box.
The box, the box, the box. No, I'm going to take the £10. YouTube chat still stupid. Why? What have I done? Oh, we did the full course, oat, almond, and all the other fake milks. We're back to normal milk now. I've got to be careful with normal milk. I can't do normal milk. I can't do full cream. I have to do like light milk, like no fat milk. And every once in a while.
Paul Jones says unexpected secret reveal.
We Are the Borg says, oh my darling Clementine is a Texan thing from the Us musicals.
From the Us musical. From the US musicals. Okay, I know what it is. I know what.
Super chat!
No, you weren't supposed to give me the £10. Thank you for that. But no, that wasn't what I. Hey Shaq, that wasn't why I said it. I said it because I think that £10 is worth more than what the prototypes are worth. Not that I can find them. We'll get to the project in a moment. Yeah, I can't do the milk, so I've always liked almond milk, and it's a real milk, and they anyway.
We Are the Borg says, what knows sex?
This poor chat having to say words that it doesn't understand. Yeah, but thanks very much for the super chat. That's very generous. Okay, so I couldn't find the box. Very frustrating. I've got some things. I've got project boxes, but I had a box full of all different prototypes of all different things that I've never shown. Because that's what you do when you get into PCB design. You make lots and lots and lots and lots of stuff, and most of it's either crap or useless or just for the sake of making stuff. What was it? Oh, I didn't say what. Okay, okay. G'day Sid, how you doing? You started me down on this tangent. Hey, Fire Developer, and Gadget's video.
Is it Christmas? Says, what type of bees made milk?
That's a trick question. I don't know the answer to that one. But so I was telling David, Brian.
Is it Christmas? Says boobies.
Boobies. Oh, right. Okay. Okay. That's very adolescent. Something my son would say, but it's funny. So I was telling David, Brian, and Bitlooney about this ad. I don't know if you saw it overseas. I'm going to see if I can find it.
We Are the Borg says Picard face bomb.
Let me see if I can find this. Because it was absolutely...
Is it Christmas? Says, what animal makes the sound zub zub zub?
What animal makes the sound zub zub? I don't know. Um,
Is it Christmas, says a bee flying backwards.
okay. Well, a few people guessed that. Um, um, I'm trying to find this ad.
We are the Borg, says groan.
Okay, so this was in Australia, and I don't know if...
Is it Christmas, says what says buzz 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 and goes up and down 300 times a day?
No, that's not
Is it Christmas, says a bee in a lift?
So this is, I need to find this because... Okay, I'm not going to be able to find it. Okay, I'm going to stop wasting time on this. I'll just tell you. There was an ad campaign, it was a fake ad in Australia, I don't know if it made it around the world, about how almond milk, they get the milk out of
Is
the
it
almond...
Christmas, says Righty must buzz off. Have a great night.
Catch you later, crazy boy.
Marius here says Norway does not have sex, we use knock.
Okay. Hey, Adirian. So the campaign was that they were showing how they milk almonds to get milk out of it. Little almonds, right? They nurture the almonds, they put them to sleep, they, wake them up, they exercise them, and then when they're ready, they squeeze little squeezes out of it to get all the milk out. Because that's how you get almond milk, is it comes out of the almonds, right? Like a cow. It was a fantastic ad campaign. Anyway, it was very, very funny. So, yeah, that was to the whole, if it doesn't come out of a thing, then it's not milk. Well, clearly almonds are, because they squeeze it out of the almonds. Okay, I need to move on. What is that? Spaghetti. Oh, what's Mike doing here? Lamb perfume ad. No, it was a milking almonds ad. It was a fake ad. Yeah, but it was a full-on professionally done ad. Like, it was really, really good. Like, they took the ad seriously. That was the whole point of it. Like, you watch the ad, and it was like a totally serious ad, and it was just extremely well done, and it was just hilarious. Oh, people actually believe spaghetti grew on trees. Really? Yeah, what's Mike doing here? Mike's supposed to be on daddy duty today. Okay, I'm going to turn the aircon up a bit higher, because I think I'm just feeling flushed because of that whole conversation. I don't know, but... Beep. Okay, so... Shall we get on to this? We should get on to this. I'm a bit nervous about talking about this thing. Bandit, this ad. I don't think that is... Hang on, I'm not sure if that was the one, no. No, that wasn't it.
We are the Borg, says just make sure to milk the correct almonds or the mistake will you.
No, that wasn't the ad. If I can find it later, I'll post it into the Discord. It was really funny. Or maybe it was the Milk of the Land one. Hang on. Oh, I can't. Anyway, I'll find it later. It was really, really good. Yes, almonds. Almonds. Okay, so let's talk about the secret projects. So I designed this back in early 2020. I thought it was earlier, but I mean, that was still 2.5 years ago. Okay, so a lot was different 2.5 years ago. 2.5 years ago, I had my Tiny Picos out, but that was all. Tiny Picos were doing great. So I thought, hey, let's jump in and invent some other crazy stuff. And I was pretty focused and pretty, into the whole deep sleep current and low current usage and how long, getting longer life out of a battery, right? And So one of the issues with the original ESP32, it's better now with the S2 and the S3. It's still not perfect, but it's much better. The issue with the original ESP32 is that when you first boot it up, it's got that massive, like that 500 milliamp spike, right? I'm not sure if all of you are aware. When you like power up an ESP32, it has to calibrate the radio, and it takes. I'm going to declassify one of those projects from forever ago, Shaq, that you asked about a lot. Hey Ryan, you mean a Nano S3? That is a Nano S3. That is a working Nano S3. I still have not decided if I'm going to go into production. But, hey Bruce, not Australian, but all about nut milking. I wonder if that's the one. Maybe it wasn't just in Australia. That's going to, I know it's going to start playing, maybe. Oops, something went wrong. Oh. So now I'm going to...
I started Jewel Dancewear in 2011.
No, turn off the... Sorry, put straight into an ad. Oh yeah, this is the one. This is it. That's the one. Nut milking exposed. Why is that such bad quality though? Quality 360p. Okay, that's a really bad version of it. Yeah, the little udder. Okay, watch it. You got to watch that. It's such a good ad. I thought it was an Australian ad. Maybe it wasn't. Doesn't matter. Okay, distracted. Ooh. Okay. So when you boot the ESP32, there's a 500 to 500 milliamp spike, right? It's very, very quick. It's one of the reasons why a lot of ESP32s brown out when they don't use an LDO that's either can handle that. Like if they stick a 500 milliamp LDO on there, it's not going to work. It's going to brown out most of the time. Or if you don't have enough load capacitors on there, you're going to also brown out because you're right at the threshold of the LDO. Anyway, and even though it's a very quick spike, it chews the battery. And when you wake the ESP32 from deep sleep, it also has to do a calibration pass, but what it can do is it can load the cache data. And so you get a spike, but the spike is not as high. So like a lot of you might have seen that when you go into deep sleep, right, you're in deep sleep, and then when you wake an ESP32 from deep sleep, it spikes up a bit, and then it comes back down and settles, right? And that spike up a bit is where it's reloading the calibration data for the radio, the cache data, and reapplying it. And when you boot the board from scratch, you got a massive spike, which takes a little bit to settle. So, yeah, the ad is humour, but it's very, very funny. Oh, I think Bruce got a higher res version of it. Have we finished milking that joke yet? No, we're never going to finish milking almond jokes. Watch the video. It really is well done. Such a great ad. Anyway, so I started playing around. Now, this is, I have to say, this is all before Kevin Dara released his ESP32 version of his boards. Okay? So...
Lord the Borg says almond jokes are nuts.
Sorry. Do you all know who Kevin Dara is? I'm going to find his website. He made the trig board. Let me just... Okay, I'll switch over to here. Okay, so he designed a thing called the trig board, which was an ESP8266 board. And basically what it was is it's not a full development board. It's a board where you can connect it up and have it trigger things. That's why it's called a trig board. And what it can do, though, is it's got a very, very, very low deep sleep current. Hey, Chris. Uh-oh, man walks into a psychiatrist wearing nothing but shrink wrap. Shrinker looks up and says, well, I can clearly see you're... Okay. Hey, Rich. Isaac Butterfield did a milk joke. We're doing lots of jokes here. It's actually fun. Fun fact, if the ESP browns out correctly, it emits a continuous 2.4 gigahertz carrier that blocks all Wi-Fi near you. Wow, really? I didn't know that. Is that a bug? Or is that intended? No, it wouldn't be intended. Anyway, so Kevin did this trig board, right? I don't know, is there a better website for it? And it was really, really low power because it didn't put it into deep sleep. What it did is it actually shut it down. And so it was down to like approximately 1.5 microamps when it was asleep because it wasn't sleeping. It shut down the whole 8266 and then powered everything back up again, right? So it was a very clever design. But as a board though, it did like, you know, you only had a couple of inputs and some buttons. It was designed to, it wasn't designed to be just a general purpose development board, right? And at that point, I already had the Tiny Pico out, and I'd been playing around with how low I could get deep sleep and stuff. So I decided to see if I could come up with a way of doing something similar, but he was using a whole bunch of, I wonder if there's a better picture. I just want to see a picture of the front of the board. Or the back of the board. Okay, it doesn't matter. The point is there was no MCU or anything on it separately, right? He had all this complex circuitry that shut everything down and everything. I wanted to come up with an idea doing something similar, but using an RTC that you could then set and you could wake up the board. So this thing it uses one of those chips where you've got a timer where you can pre-program the timer to say, wake me up in, you know, was it like, you know, a minute, or based on the resistors you put down on the board, it could be a minute or it could be half an hour or an hour. I wanted something that was more flexible that you could talk to, that you could say, okay, I want to wake up once every day or every hour at 5 past the hour to do something, right? And have it shut the whole board down and then wake up the whole board, right? So when it was asleep, you only had the RTC power that was running, which was, at the time that I was playing with this, I was getting it down to considerably lower than the 20 odd microamps that the Tiny Pico was running at in deep sleep, right? Right, so like an RTC should be able to run off a coin cell for ages doing that, okay, but it wouldn't be able to run the board. So, could you not deep sleep the ULP on the ESP32 in order to get very low current use? The lowest you can get on an original ESP32, regardless of what they say in the datasheet, because they say that in isolation, right? They don't include any external components you need to make the board work. The lowest you can get is about 18 microamps. So, yes, I know. Just let me go through the story because you'll see that it was a fallacy, but I had to get there. I had to prove that it was a fallacy, right? So it turns out it's not enough to do an RTC just like that, regardless of how the interrupts on it works or anything else. So I started playing around with some ideas, and of course, because it's me, I couldn't just settle with one idea. I had too many thoughts in my head, too many options, too many different directions I wanted to go. So I made a bunch of things using this concept, and I got them all to prototype stage, and I got them all to a proof of concept stage where we'll get to the result in a moment. And then when I started looking at getting them all ready to do a small production run, Kevin came out with his new version, which was ESP32 based, and used an RTC on it. Again, it wasn't a general purpose development board like I was looking at doing, or you'll see in a moment, I'll show you what the things I was doing. But it's still, he came out with an ESP32 version. It didn't do as low current as this trig board, but ESP32 is a much more powerful thing. And at that point in time, I decided to shelve what I was doing because, as you'll see in a moment, there was a lot of stuff and it would have been quite difficult to know which direction to go. So I'm just going to have to show you. And as I said, some of them I can show you an actual built prototype, and some of them I'm going to have to show you the PCBs and talk about what it is because I can't find where the boards are. But let's just jump in and show you what I came up with. So this was the first thing, which I actually got finished. This was ready to go into production. Okay, it was called a battery saver. Big, chunky, I know. But I'll go through, in a minute, I'll go through everything, right? Let's just start with showing you that. What I also did was I did the same thing, but in a tiny Pico shield. Okay, so as you can see, it looks like a regular, see, it even says, it's battery saver, tiny Pico. Okay. Whoa, bang, can everyone hear that? Someone's rubbish has been collected. And then I also did the same thing in a Wemos D1 Mini shield. See? For an 8266. And I did the same thing in a feather. So they're all, these three are shields. Right? So this is designed for a feather. Any feather board, technically, should work on. The only thing that I did was, which I would have had to change, was I stuck ground on that pin, this free pin over here, and that could have been a problem with some people's boards. So I had a fully standalone version that would work off anything that you would connect to externally. And then I had three different shields for what was arguably the three most popular platforms at the time. Right? Anything that was feather-based, so that could be ESP32 based feather, Hey Tabletronics, or it could be any feather board, doesn't matter, SAMD, whatever. The Wemos D1 Mini or whatever all the compatible boards were, and this. Now what was interesting with the standalone, they all had exactly the same functionality, right? What you could do is you could turn it off, so it was like a battery switch. Okay, so if you had your board plugs into this, your battery into here, that's off. You could turn it on, and it was just on, or you could turn it into, put it into RTC mode. And then, based on how you program the RTC via I2C, right, through here, you could configure the RTC, and then it would shut down the power going to your board, and when it woke up, it would wake up the board, and you'd do whatever you do, right? And then you'd go back into sleep again. And this works. This works. I can't find my other two. This one, from memory, it worked. But there was I can't remember what the problem was. There was something I had to fix on the board. And this one worked, except obviously I had to get rid of the ground pin. So I did those, but I wasn't satisfied with that because I like making microcontroller boards. And this is the board that I can't find, that I wish I could find. But I designed, if anyone is still here, I am back? Okay. Except stuff is still not working. Lots of brokeny stuff. Excellent. So my internet went down. Luckily the stream kept going. Otherwise that would have been a problem. But yeah, I just had to restart my router. And I had to restart it twice actually. I restarted the first time, I thought that was it, but it didn't work. So, sorry about that. Except for some reason I can't not everything has come back up properly, so just bear with me a second. Okay, there's my logo camera. My chat is not appearing. I don't know why. Okay. No, it's not the unified. This was actually my fiber to the node NBN router went down. I had to restart it twice. Yeah, well, my chat is not working. So, oh well. I don't know why that's not working. Maybe a cache issue or something. Who knows? Okay, well. Wow, I don't need a coffee. I need a stiff drink now. You're taking a shower. What are you doing watching my streams in the shower, dude? Okay, so, ooh, super chat. Hang on. I got to bring everything back up again. Sorry, Jack McMack. It might be working now. I don't know. So I designed, right, I got pretty far through. Wow.
Intermitex says, can we do a rehash of what the secret was for people arriving late?
Mark says super chat.
Super chat! There you go, I do that for you, Jack McMack. Super chat! Hang on. Wait. I need to do this for Jack McMack. Hang on.
Super chat!
Thank you. I was going to play the sound for you, so you didn't have to do that. But thank you. Thanks, Jack McMack. It's working now. All from roll call. Do I have to start? Oh, I'm not going to start again.
Noxie says we heard I made then the stream needed.
So did you see this? Did you see all of this? It was all working with this, didn't I? Or do I have to explain all this again? Where did we get up to? Oh, you saw all that. Okay. So you got up to this one. Okay. I know you're late, but it's going to be a lot to rehash, Quindor. Maybe someone else in the chat can quickly rehash it for you. Or let me at least get through this bit. So I wasn't happy with this. I wanted to make a microcontroller board, right? So, out of breath, running up and down the stairs several times, let me tell you, and in panic mode. So this is a microcontroller board with all of that circuitry on it. It's an ESP32 Pico D4, but it has that whole thing on it, so it's built into the microcontroller board. But some of you who are eagle-eyed might notice there's no USB connector on there. And that is because, watch, these are going to go everywhere. I did this. If I can get it out. One. And two. So here is a micro B USB add-on for it. And here is a USB-C add-on for it. So here is a board with USB-C. And here is a board with micro B. And all of the serial UART stuff is on this board. And they connected via headers on the back, 2mm pitch headers on the back that connected into each other. So the idea is that you would plug in the USB header if you wanted, like a programming board, but if your project didn't need USB, just take it off. It is being powered by battery at this end. And it actually worked. Surprise, surprise. That's why I can't find the prototype board. It actually, there was a few problems with it. I had to do some bodgies on it. But it actually worked. And
Noxie says love it. That's pretty nice.
it is and it's not. So here's the thing. Doing the headers on the back, not great, right? I don't know how durable it would have been. I don't know how long it would have lasted. I reckon people would have ripped them off, right? But also, because all the 5-volt and TX and RX and all the pins that were needed for this side were on this board, if that was in a breadboard, you couldn't plug this in because you need to take it out of the breadboard to connect them to then put them both back in the breadboard. And I looked at a few different designs where these could lock into each other, but there was nothing that actually worked very well. But anyway, I designed this, and then what I also did is I designed a version that didn't have a separate USB. I actually had that up on the screen before, but I lost that when I restarted. I had to restart my computer as well, just in case it was my computer. Let me see if I can bring this back up again.
Fire developer says if you fiddle around with breadboards, you probably don't need that low power.
No, well, people prototype on a breadboard first, right? The whole idea with the header pins on it is to still make it breadboard compatible. But yeah, I see what you're saying. So so I called this the Current Pro. So this was the whole entire board, but with the USB on it, right? I had that version as well. And because I wasn't sure about connecting the separate USB connector and how durable it was going to be. But as you can see, it was a pretty full-on board that had, like it was, at the time for me, it was packed in. And you had your crystal for the RTC, you had the RTC here, you had all this circuitry here just to control the power. And the current, very funny. What's micro B again? Yeah, it's amazing. Like people still ask me for micro B. Anyway, so as you can see, I designed 2 versions of a microcontroller board, one with modular USB, one without, and then I also designed 3 different shields, right? One for my current board and for these 2, and I designed a completely standalone version because I was totally unsure which direction I wanted to go. But here's the kicker. This is the thing. Sees you designed it in Eagle. Yeah, well, obviously, this is 2.5 years ago, Mark. More than 2.5 years ago. Actually, when was it? These versions of all these boards were from the end of February 2020. So it's quite a while ago, right? So here's the kicker. Here's the thing that made me shelve it. At the end of the day, remember there was no S2, there was no S3, there was just, that stage there was the Pico D4, there wasn't even the Pico V3, right? It was just the Pico D4, or there was the regular DW0 whatever chip, right? The one that they used inside their module. And they both had the issue where you power them up, you had that massive spike. And it turned out that the cost of shutting everything down and then repowering up again for projects that were running, that were being woken up more frequently than every few hours, the gain you got for not using deep sleep and using one of these was only about 20%. And I didn't feel like 20% as a saving, we're talking about, going from, let's call it 25 microamps, right? So to go from 25 microamps to 20 microamps wasn't worth it. Now, going for longer, so if it was like waking up once a day or longer, then I think that one of my tests I did, and the problem with testing this was that it took weeks to test because I had to test it in real time, right? What do you mean ESP32 revision? The audio clicking is back. The aircon switching may have caused the stream to... No, the aircon was on ages ago. It's been on like for an hour before the stream started. No, the spike? No, the spike wasn't a bug. The spike was what it costs to turn on the radio and calibrate the radio. No. And the issue that is only an issue when you wake up. So when you boot the ESP32, when you wake it up, it loads the data from cache, like from storage on the flash, and reapplies the calibration. And there is a spike, but it's a much smaller spike, much lower. It's like 200 milliamps, and it's quicker. So yeah, for long things, for once a day or once every couple of days, it was a much bigger saving, like 50 to 60%. But as I said, it took me weeks to actually get all this data because I needed to let all these things run for that long. And I had, bugs in my code that was, it would trip up, after 3 or 4 times, it wouldn't set the alarm properly, and then everything would die and I have to start it all again. It was a really frustrating period of time. I had 4 or 5 microcontroller boards running in an area in my office at the time that was all plugged in, and I had to keep everything away from it. I didn't want to do anything that was going to wreck the tests. It was a very frustrating process, but it turned out it wasn't enough. I didn't feel it was enough. And only clicking on the iPad. Very strange. Hey, Ian. How you doing, mate? So what I did was I put it aside at the time, but it definitely wasn't a dead project. And I started rethinking about how I could improve the power on it to get it even lower, right? And I was a couple of weeks into that, and then that's when Kevin released his ESP32 version of his trig board. And I thought to myself, what's the point now, right? The trig board was quite popular. Again, it wasn't a general purpose board. And so there was still a different marketplace, but I couldn't get as low as the deep sleep as he was getting, not with my current design, but mine was a lot more versatile because it was all connected and you can just shield plugging it on. And the other problem was there was a lot of expensive components on the board to get it all working. I didn't see the value in it. So I just stuck it in my drawer, on my shelf in tubs, and they sat there till now. And every once in a while I have a think about it again, and then I go, yeah, no, and then I avoid it, right? But a couple of things piqued my curiosity again about this. The first thing is the new RTC that I'm using on my new data logger board. The running current on that is dramatically lower than the chip I was using, right? The microchip RTC, which is still a very good low power chip, but this is much lower, and this is lower when it's running, when it's powered, compared to what the microchip one, or the MCP one, was when it was sleeping, right? So that's the first thing. Hey, Steve. Typical Apple stuff. Whoa, no Apple naysayers here. I'm just kidding. So the new RTC, right? And then and this has been going on for a little while, and some of you might have seen, I posted in my Discord server recently and on Twitter about a discussion about how few GPIOs would you really need for really tiny projects and a really small board. Because I've been itching, like there's a lot of, boards out now that are small boards, and and people are talking about how, the smallest ESP32 boards and whatever else. And I still claim that, it's me. I still claim that my Tiny Pico is the smallest board, even though there are smaller boards, but they're all missing something. Hey, here's a really small board, but it's got no battery management on it. Here's a small board, but it's got no this, it's got no that, right? The Tiny Pico is still the only board that has everything on it, right? That, anyway, and whatever. But I've always been interested to get it smaller. I know I can get it smaller because, that's a tiny S3 board. It's got everything except for the USB connector, right? So, if you look at the size difference, hang on, let me put it under here. That's my current tiny S3, and there's the Nano S3. I can clearly make a smaller board, right? But what's the point? I was thinking, sure, I want to do it as a challenge, but what's the point? Like, what would you gain by having a smaller board? Like, is the Tiny Pico not small enough? Look at the size of my finger. Look at the size of the board. Okay, I should have manicured my nails, whatever. At least they're clean. Like, you know what I mean? Like, at what stage does too small become stupid? Israel will get a halt once it's miniaturized. Yeah, like it just becomes harder to use, right? That's right, small enough for 99% of the projects. I don't have a banana for scale. I'm allergic to bananas. This is a banana-free zone. What do you want for scale? What can I give you for scale? I know. Here's for scale.
Intermittex says design what you feel is the sweet spot, and it does all the things it should do. Others can do their own vision if they want.
Right, but there's still this thing that frustrates me a little bit. So when someone comes out with a board that's just got a chip on it, and they go, it's the smallest board, but you can't do anything with it. Like, it's missing 50% of the stuff. I don't need to do an RP2040. The chip? Anyway, the point is, that got me thinking again, and I've also been looking recently at ways of connecting my real racks together magnetically or something for power distribution. So I've been looking at connectors again, which then got me thinking about, is there a better connector version than just doing these headers on the back? Like, is there something else I could be using instead of surface mount headers to connect two halves of a board to make it viable? Because, you flash your code on this board and you wire all up to your project, you flash your code, and then you generally, especially if you're using over the air, you don't use the USB again. Like, we can take off that much of the board, can just go, because, you might need it occasionally, but you don't need it all the time. But I don't want to do the whole external programmer thing. Like, I don't know if I've shown these before. It's not something I'm actively selling, but I've got a whole bunch of these that I make. I generally make them for clients. So it's just a programmer, right? And but they're designed to be, although this one's on a cable, they're designed to have pogos on the end, or to have a header, which you can then either put pins or pogos for flashing boards quickly, right? You can always use an external programmer, but then you need to put a header on it. And if you put a header on it, then you're taking up as much space as if you put a USB connector on it, right? Yeah, I don't want a breakaway board. Breakaway board doesn't help me. Once it's broken, it's gone. I want a board that comes in two pieces where you can swap them out. And the idea was, that I'm playing around with my head now, is that would include the battery side and everything else. Like you could have different modules that plug in, not just different USB connectors, but maybe you'd have a board, and then one of the things you plug in would be a battery saver. So the battery saver could be a battery with a whole RTC thing and everything else that connects to the board through the same headers, and you could have something like that, or it could be something else entirely. You know what I mean? Dock into a edge. Edge connectors are too big, so that's the whole problem. All these things are too big. They're too big, or they're too high, they're too tall, and then you lose breadboard compatibility and all sorts of stuff. Like, it's actually really hard to find flat surface contact pads. No, it's got to connect and stay connected. Like, you need to be able to connect it and pick up the board, and like it needs to become one board. They can't just sit on top. That doesn't work. Like, it's got to physically be a connection, right? A male and a female have to attach. It's got to be in the same plane, otherwise you can't plug it into a breadboard, which stacks of people do with boards. So it had a lot of challenges, like it did. And as I said, like, I got this working. I got it working. And at the time, if you consider that, you know, I'd just done the Tiny Pico, this was a pretty big leap for me, considering that, you know, once again, like, I didn't even know there was a marketplace for the Tiny Pico. I didn't know that there was going to be a marketplace for this. And it was really just a concept, like, how could I do it? And then it was also a difficult thing. Like, so you look at this. I mean, this is all big and clunky. It's designed to be large, right? Designed to go into a box, right? It's got things on the side for attaching to clip into a box. I actually designed a box for it. You could do battery in, or you could do other power source in. It didn't have to be via JST. But this had to have I2C coming out of it. Like, this has to have this big chunk of wires going into your board to make this useful. And I looked at this and I thought, you know, someone's going to be running a tiny board, and then they're going to be putting this big, massive thing on it to be able to shut it down and wake it up as they need, right? And I thought to myself, that's just crazy. Who's going to do that? Maybe if someone's using a large board or a larger project, but I really felt like there was this disconnect between, hey, let's get a really tiny board and let's make it run longer on battery by putting this big, massive thing on it, right? Kyocera AVX products. I've been looking a lot at different options for connectors. There really isn't a lot of options that aren't really they're really risky. Like, they'll get broken by people. Board to board, B2B jumper, 109296. Alan, where's that? Hey, Johan, where's that from? That 10-2926. Like, I mean, my original Tiny Picos, right? I've never, ever ripped off an antenna off my original Tiny Pico. And I would have handled, I don't know, 15, 16,000 of them. Yeah? Made them, packaged them. Like, my original Tiny Pico, my original one. I've got it here somewhere still. I thought I had it on my desk here the other day. It's still got the antenna on it, right? But so many people ripped off the antennas off their Tiny Picos. So there's just no way I could release a board that had surface mount headers that people could just snap off. Because when they snap it off, they wreck their board instead. It just wasn't something that I thought was going to be a good enough option. These things, they look interesting, Mark, but they... oh, right. There was that one there, 2.9. Yeah, that's too big. That's too big. Like, you remember, I need like 8 pins. You know what I mean? And that's also going to rip off. And this also won't come together 100% custard and resin. Then you can't pull it apart again. It should be on your wall of fame in a tiny frame. What should be? My original Tiny Pico. No, I still use it. Where did I put it? Oh, it's running my laser. Hang on. Look at this. It's running my laser. I remember where I put it now. This is my first one. My first production board. My very first one. It's still got the clip on it. Like, I mean, seriously. Very first board I built, I'm still using it. Where are the sharks? What? Oh, the laser shark. Right. Okay. Like I haven't even ripped the USB connector off it. It's pretty impressive. But it taught me a lesson on. It taught me a lesson on. You know, no matter how solid I think a construction is, someone's going to break it, right? And I can't blame them for breaking it. So I printed a lot of those clips.
Noxie says, so what's your ultimate union to make this new product range a reality?
What? Solution? Well, I don't know. I don't even know if it's worth doing as a solution. Honestly, like, again, so you got a board and you can take off the USB to make it smaller, but what do you gain? Oh, is my stream dead? No, it's not. Okay. The website is, YouTube's preview is showing me whatever. So you save 5 millimeters, 10 millimeters. Who cares? Like, that's what I'm trying to work out. Like, what difference does it make if you're going to save that little bit? You're not going to save any power because when you're running off battery on my boards, it shuts down the whole 5-volt stuff, right? So, surface mount connectors always come off unless you're the PCB designer owner. Sure. I mean, I put mine through a lot of stress, my tiny picos. But yes, once it's out in the wild, expect things to break and go wrong. And so that was another reason why I just couldn't see. And these were 2 millimeter pitch headers, not 2.54. And I know it sounds like it's only a small difference, but the pins on them are much thinner. Like they're much easier to bend. So that would have also been less durable. Hang on, I just want to see what this link is that Chris sent. Going to DigiKey. You save the price of the... Right, the advantage was that you could buy 10 boards and only one USB thing, right? And so you don't have to buy 10 of them. Yeah, I know all the reasons. That's why I did it, Bruce. Like, that was a lot of the driving factor as well. You can't blame Ford for people crashing their cars, no. You can't blame Tesla for people crashing their cars either. Ooh. Cost of a much larger USB connector board. Standard hard gold edge connector main board might be suitable. Standard hard gold edge connector. But what would that plug into? The only flag on my logo shack is Ukraine. So DigiKey seems to be down for me. Oh, no, it's back up. Yeah, no, it can't be a plug down. It can't be like that. It can't be a clip in. And these are, firstly, they're really expensive unless they've got really bad, what's it called? Can't think of the name. Cycles, mating cycles. A lot of these have got like 20 mating cycles, the cheap ones. And when you go to the expensive ones, sure, you might get 100 mating cycles, or yeah, thank you. Or you might get 1,000 mating cycles, but they work out to be $7 each. And yeah, this doesn't, it's got to be plugged sideways. It can't be a plug-in. Plug-in doesn't work. Like
Intermitech says put a JST-SH 1mm female connector on there that can be used for flashing but also for different things after flashing is done as an output up.
Right, except I need 1, 2, 3, 4, hang on. I need 6 to 8 pins, ideally 8. If I want to have the battery saver thing external as well, I need 8 pins. And here's the problem. Housing. Okay, 3, SH. They're downstairs. Are they downstairs or are they in a... have I got them in a... Okay. The problem with that is, what do I mean the classification, declassification? This whole project is what I'm talking about, Shaq. This is what I'm... Sorry, okay. Anyway, right. So that's a 4-pin SH connector. And that is the size. So if I did an 8-pin, I could maybe squeeze an 8-pin one on. Catch you later, Mike. Thanks for joining. Have fun doing daddy duty. Right, you've got to remember there's no USB chip anymore. So I wouldn't be doing this on a tiny Pico. I'd be doing this on an S2, S3 chip. And it doesn't need a serial UART chip, right? It's just a USB connector. Like my Nano S3, there's no serial chip on it. You can physically wire a USB connector. You can solder a USB connector for your gain, right? 4 wires.
The text says right, but it's not a WASTed connector. After flashing can be reused as output?
No, because the only things that are on it are things needed for flashing. It's got D+, D-, 5-volt ground, and then potentially some other things if they're going to be exposed, but they're not I/O. Well, I guess you could technically use D+ and D- as I/O, depending on how you what you do with the chip. If you don't turn on the CDC, but then you'd have to put it back into download mode to get it back into a flashable state, right? So, but still, like the point is, you can put 4 wires on here, and that is a tiny Pico. A tiny S3.
Intermit text says all right. I was still thinking in serial land, then TXRX are just pious too.
Right, but so for an original ESP32, sure, but none of that's needed now. Or you could do it and you could flash the chips with TX and RX, but then you don't get the benefits of having the on-the-go, the native USB, right, for doing things like you couldn't do CircuitPython with it, you couldn't mount mass storage with it, you couldn't do HID or anything else with it because it's not using the native USB, it's using a serial UART, which defeats the purpose. So, yeah, there's so much good about the idea, and then there are enough hurdles, either from a durability point of view or from a cost effectiveness point of view, or just is there any point of view, to still make me kind of go, I don't know. But one of the things I'm curious about is, rather than just making a board, right, another board, is if there's a way I can turn this into something that's much smaller. Not as a shield, but as an external thing. So this came up on my Discord over the last few days. Someone is trying to work out how can they turn off the battery, but still, like connected to a Pro S3, but still charge the battery, which you can't really do, right? But some of you might remember this, which I built a stack of. Sorry, Mr. Explorer. Wasn't a tiny Z80. Can you even get Z80 chips small enough? So I built a stack of these. Do you remember these? These are my battery switch. They actually work okay. I just didn't bother releasing them because I just don't know if they're of any benefit to anyone. But this is what I call it, my battery switch. And it's basically VBAT in and VBAT out via JST or via pins, whatever. And
Test says from a reliability standpoint, a component not fitted can never go wrong.
that's very true. And it's literally an on-off switch for your battery that allows you to, using a dual FET, like a serial FET scenario with a A diode allows you to not fully charge a battery, but keep a battery charged, but not have power going through or have the battery running, right? I mean, obviously this sucks a little bit of the battery. But once again, like I saw this as something that would go in between a project. So battery going to this going to your board. You know, I built a bunch of them. I don't know, 20, 30 of them. And they're just sitting here because I'm not sure they're of any use to anyone. So, you know, it's an interesting challenge. Like, you know, it happens all the time. People want to connect a board up with a battery with a strip of RGB LEDs, and they want to be able to turn the LEDs off but still charge the battery. You can't really do that with any of my boards or any board that has the battery charging on it, because there's no way of disconnecting the power coming from the battery but also still be able to charge the battery. What turned back? How do you go by Prime? What? If what you are sitting with looks fragile, then you take extra care. No, that's not how it works. And that's common sense, but there's no common sense out there. Things happen. People drop things. They knock them off their desk by accident. They get frustrated and they do something rough. Can I post a link here? Hold on one second. I will make you a moderator. Now you can post a link. As long as you're not rickrolling. You're a wizard now. It's okay, I already got connectors, cables, open new window, rough. What? Okay. Yeah, okay, so that's way too big, but yes. Been looking at those, been looking at them for something else, but yeah. So, yeah. And the problem with this is it's not a permanent connection, but yeah. And they're through hole. I've been looking at all sorts of options like this, including possibly getting one custom made. I've got one of my supplier that I buy my headers from, my custom headers. They make stuff like this, and they can do a custom run. Hello, Jelly Ninja. Jelly Ninja. I hope I got that right. So where's the SAR? Where's it says as per drawing? Where's the drawing for it? So the ones I've been looking at were 6-pin. I've not seen 7-pin. I've seen 6 and 8. And the 8 is wider than my board. Like, ridiculously wide. And the 6, the pins are within the width of my board, but the housing of the connector hangs over the edge of the board. So it's still not a great solution. This but have a wire to, what? New window. Yeah, that'll break. Like that's, yeah, and the whole point. Ooh, no, it's not everyone deliberately breaks things. Like accidents happen, right? But there's nothing worse than, like, I used to die a bit inside when someone would let me know that they whipped the antenna off a board. You know, and I get how they do it. Like I could go and grab a tiny pico with a metal antenna and rip it off the board. Like, but you know, I used to die a bit inside when I heard that happened. Yeah, these are just, and they're too. They're fine for potentially. Oh, God, I'm going to regret saying this, but like people like us who design and develop stuff and take care with stuff, that's not user facing. Like, you know what I mean? That's not. That's something you stick inside on a board, inside a product, you know, that's enclosed and no one ever touches. That's not something that you want people to connect and disconnect all the time. And that's the thing, the stuff I've been finding is just not durable, or it's just not, it's going to be too fragile, and or really expensive, or still too big. They won't break, they just disconnect. Possibly. But I didn't want a solution. I wanted a board-to-board solution. I didn't want a board-to-wire, wire-to-board. Because then you don't have a board, you have something separate. If that's the case, if it's going to be wires in between, then there are a lot of options, right? I could just use vertical, STEMMA QT, like SH connectors. I don't even have to worry about doing it on the edge of the board if it's just going to be wires. But yeah, I just wonder about having a USB-C cable with a different end on the other side that connects to the board. Yeah, sure, but then it's limited to just, again, to USB. I think it's more going to be fragile. What you're looking for probably doesn't exist. No, it probably doesn't, because it's a use case that's a really dubious use case, I think. But it doesn't have to be. So the whole separate USB thing doesn't have to be a thing, right? That was just one of the things I was playing with at the time. It was more about how do you go and make a board run off less power. Now, what's interesting is with the ESP32 S2 and S3, they still have that spike at the start when you power up, but the spike is much lower. They've improved that dramatically. So that becomes less of a problem, which means you have the opportunity to get better value out of a battery saver compared to just using deep sleep. And deep sleep on the S2 and the S3 is actually a little bit higher than the original ESP32. So there's gains for that as well. But the S3 is the last of Espressive's line of extensor cores, and they're doing everything in the RISC-V, or RISC-V land now. Good on them. It's way behind where their extensor stuff is for now. That'll eventually change, but it's going to take quite a few years. But they're lower power, which means it removes the need to do a battery saver. So, though there are stacks of people with boards out there that could maybe benefit from a battery saver of some form, not every project requires it, and there are too many different types of boards out there. So here's the thing. My Tiny Pico, if we go back to the Tiny Pico's got still best-in-class deep sleep current draw. It's 20, I think there's only one board that's better than it, but feature-wise on the board, it doesn't have as much as the Tiny Pico's got. But, let's call it 20 microamps deep sleep. There are boards out there that people are using, ESP32 boards, and they're using, battery and deep sleep and whatever else, that have got 40 or 70 microamps deep sleep current. And, one of those boards with a battery saver, you could make your battery run 20 times longer. Okay, on a Tiny Pico, there's less of an advantage. On a WeMOS board, a massive advantage, which is why I did that. And on a lot of the Feather boards, a massive advantage. I believe I'm not sure what their current version is, but Adafruit's Huzzah 32, their original Huzzah 32, had 190 microamp deep sleep, right? I'm sure they've improved it now. Things have changed a lot since then. So, that was why I was targeting
Simon
that.
Claus says if you've product ready, why you didn't release it to check if there is demand?
Because it was a lot of money. Hey Simon, by the way, I had five different designs. Which ones do I make? Which ones do I, it was a massive cost investment in making that many SKUs. And at the time I was really busy making Tiny Picos. So yeah, it was like more product is just a burden for me. It's not it's not an advantage. Like one person trying to juggle so many different SKUs. And I just wasn't sure if it was going to be that usable. It would be crazy not to make a Tiny Pico version, but that had the least gain, but that had the easiest entry into the market for me. You know that I mean? How do you know if we'll ever get something of the same performance as usual? Definitely not as good as ARM. RISC-V is way behind ARM. Eventually with RISC-V, I think so. Hang on, I'll say it, but we'll get shouted at. Tiny Pico double-sided with RTC circuit on the other side. Ensure it's the same form factor. Please, no shouting at me. Yeah, I don't want to make it a double-sided board. Again, there's no advantage. Like, I don't know what the advantage would be on putting the battery saver on the bottom of the board on a board that already has best-in-class deep sleep. You know what I mean? Like, it's yeah. It's a tricky thing. Like, you know, I could do it. I could spend, you know, I could chew a whole bunch of time designing it, prototyping it, getting it ready, release it, and then have no one buy it. And it's not just about the selling them and making money. It's the time investment for me on doing it. Like, from a maker point of view, I'm interested in the challenge, but back in the box onto something new. Well, maybe, I don't know. Like, I'm interested in the challenge. Like, I'm interested in the challenge on making a smaller board for once and for all, like a fully featured board. Like, everything that the Tiny S3's got that's smaller, still breadboard compatible. But, excuse me, sorry. That probably didn't help. But other than the challenge, it's like taking it to market is a whole different thing. Yeah. Just to sidetrack a little, did people see the new IKEA gateway? Turns out it has 2 CPU radios, a Wi-Fi radio, and an assumed MP1 running Linux. Oh, wow. No, I haven't. But I don't live in Sweden, so we don't get to see the coolly IKEA stuff straight away. Hey, Liam. Yeah, Pogo interface board's out of the question. Well, I've already got that with my other, what I put in the program. But yeah, because it's the whole point is, like, they already exist. Like, if it's just a board with a header for programming, well, they're a dime a dozen, right? There's no advantage in that. The idea was that you would have it all together if you wanted it. Like, you know, yeah. I see the advantage of having USB on there all the time. I've only got one project in here right now that I use that doesn't need a USB connector all the time, and that's my logo, because I can flash it remotely. The Tiny Pico that's running the logo, I can flash it remotely most of the time. Sometimes over the air gets a bit finicky. I don't need a USB connector on there, but you've got to remember, my boards, if there's no 5-volt power, it doesn't cost anything in terms of power to have that stuff on the board. And if I'm only saving, how much are we saving? Nope, not that one. That one. How much are we really saving? I don't even know where my camera is. Okay, we're saving 7 millimeters. So 7 millimeters is all we're going to save by not having the USB connector on that board. That's it. Like, you know, if it was 30 millimeters or 40 millimeters, sure, but we're saving 7 millimeters. Did I say 7? Yeah. Like, it's just not worth it. Just to get rid of the USB connector, to then have to have the hassle of, oh, no, it wouldn't be 7 because I'd have to stick a header on there. So it's probably only 5 millimeters or 4 millimeters I'm going to save, and you'll have the hassle of having to plug a connector in or pogo it to flash it all the time, right? There's just no advantage to that. Sometimes they're launched first in other countries. I don't sit there refreshing the IKEA website like you do, Mark. I know you love IKEA, and I'm not picking on you for that. But yeah. Yeah, there's no advantage. So on my original design, like my Tiny Pico, right? I mean, this is obviously my latest Tiny Pico with the UFL connector. There's a lot of stuff on here that could come off, right? It's the USB connector. It's that 7 millimeters there. There's the serial UART plus 1, 2, 3, plus 3 passives. There's the dual transistor. So, you know, there's quite a lot that can come off this board to take the USB connector off. But on my Tiny S3 or Tiny S2, that's it. Nothing else, everything else is in chip, right? And by taking that off, I actually lose some headers, right? I couldn't really make the board smaller. I'd lose 2 pins here, and I'd lose my my ground pin here. So there's just no advantage in it. Vertical USB. You know the problem with vertical USBs is they are huge, because to keep them on the board and not rip them off, which they can still be ripped off, yeah, they're just a massive connector. I've actually found shorter USB-C connectors, but there's really no advantage going to them. I'm going to save... I actually like the overhang. I do this on purpose, by the way. The overhang of the USB I do on purpose. So if someone wants to put this at the edge of a case, right, they can do that. Getting a shorter USB connector, I can save, I think it's 2 millimeters, but there's no advantage because I can't get the headers any shorter. I can't bring, I mean, I guess I could bring the LEDs and stuff onto the board, but once again, we're talking about semantics at that point, right? When we're trying to shave 1 or 2 millimeters off the size of the board, it makes no difference. So, wasn't great. I had it running. Oh, DB9. Yeah, let's go. Let's go. Centronics interface. Let's do Centronics. So I'm thinking I might have a play again with the concept of doing something like this. No, I haven't convinced myself to do the all-in-one. The problem with the all-in-one version is it doesn't work with any hardware that people have already got. I'm more interested in seeing if I can come up with something that, like this, that's better, that's smaller, that gives you the option of a switch, like an on or an off, which kind of does the whole, well, I'll put it away, the battery switch thing, because people want battery switches. And I know you can just stick a switch in there, but really they're not, the current aren't rated for them properly. I'm curious to see if I can do something like this, but much smaller, that has the same functionality, where instead of doing big headers like this...
Noxie says a battery saver companion board to use on any project seems like a way forward.
Right, but there'll be lots of boards that there's no advantage of using the battery saver side because the deep sleep current is already good enough, right? So I need like a power plus and minus. I need I squared C, so that's 2 pins. And then I need, well, 2 more pins. Potentially 2 more pins. So it's 6 pins. Now I can use, I mean, I've got, this is screw terminals. I did that because 2.5 years ago, actually this was done before 2.5, this was almost 3 years ago, this particular version. Like back then, I wasn't looking at, you know, stemma QT connectors. I wasn't doing, you know, JST connectors were the smallest I was playing with, the PH ones. So the 2 extra pins, well, I need an interrupt pin, right? Something that'll go to the micro, just say, hey, wake up. Catch you later, Graham. Have a good day, mate. Thanks for joining. And hi to anyone I haven't said hi to. Oh, there's Max. Hey, Max. Take us through that board again, please. So yeah, this board has, I mean, big and chunky. Can't get close up. Okay. So it's got JST PH in for a battery, or you can wire a battery in. It doesn't have to be a battery, but it's, well, no, it has to be a battery because it connects to, goes to the battery input, designed for a battery input. Yeah, definitely want to be a battery. It's got an RTC chip on here and crystal, quite large as you can see, a whole bunch of passives. And the idea is that you can, if it's in the off mode, there's no power, right? And it is actually using a dual FET. You might not be able to see. There's 2 little FETs in here. when it's in off mode, it does charge the battery, but you won't ever charge it to full. Hey Eric, how you doing, mate? I'll get to that in a moment, Jack McMack, although I don't know if I really have a good answer. Anyway, then you can just switch it on, and it's just a pass-through for the battery, right? And when it's on, it's also powering the RTC, which means you can use the RTC. It's like having an RTC shield, right? So you can use the RTC for whatever you want. And that's why you need to have the, well, in this case, the multifunction pin, but it'll be an interrupt pin. So this particular chip only has the one pin that you could be, it could be a multifunction. You can make it a, oh, my camera logo shifted. Anyway, you can make it a trigger out, or you could make it an input. You could make it, you know, the, like a clock out, whatever. That new RTC that I'm using now on my logger shield has got multiple pins for that, and I want to break them both out because you can use them both as interrupts, or you could use one of them as a message coming into the chip. But anyway, you put it on and it's on, and if you stick it in RTC mode, then it'll shut down the power and it'll wake it up based on the RTC. So the RTC will switch power on when it's told to trigger it. And then you have to manually, so like when it wakes up, and you have to manually put the chip back to sleep again. Okay? Which means you need to talk I2C back to it to say, hey, that's cool, set my alarm again for now, go back to sleep, right? Which will then shut the board down. And it works. As I said, it works. I've tested this. This is the same thing with the Tiny Pico Shield, work exactly the same way. Battery in, you've got 3 different modes here. It's a smaller switch, but you've got in the middle is off, and you go RTC mode or you just go to on. It's also got a battery connected for, a switch for reset, because back then, remember, there was no reset button on my Tiny Picos. That's how long ago this was made. This board also has a fuel cell on it, I2C fuel cell. So, and it's using the same RTC, but in a DFN package to fit it all in. So, you know, as you can see, there was a lot of stuff to cram in there. So, as I said, these work, but there was just no real advantage for a Tiny Pico, where I was really focused at the time. Unless you were waking it up.
Cable Tie says smashed that like button peeps.
Cheers, Cable Tie. Unless you were sleeping for a day or more. Now, like an ESP32 isn't good enough to sleep for a day without losing a lot of time. Like its drift is pretty big. That was another thing, right? So by using an RTC, you could go deep sleep for much longer and not have as much drift. And as many of you know, the RTC I'm using now on my logger has got, like, it's like 1 ppm. Like it's incredible. So ultra low power, 1 ppm, and 2 pins for interrupt or for communication back might give more of an opportunity to do something better. Can we get 50 thumbs up? That's okay. You don't have to. It's where all the cool kids are, except for me. So Jack Mack asked, somewhat related, what's the most interesting board-to-board connector you found recently? There haven't been, honestly. I've been looking at magnetic. So I really wanted to do, have I got my board here somewhere? No. Really need to clean my desk. So my little boards that I made that slot into my reel rack for the slot detection, I wanted to see if I could get those magnetic touching. So expensive and so big. The housing on all of the connectors for the magnetic ones are just massive. Like, you know, I just need a 2-pin magnetic connector, and the housing on one connector is wider than my whole board, let alone I need an in and out on each one. So, yeah, I'm not overly exciting. Yes, it's about 3 seconds. Yeah, I think they say, I can't remember the data sheet, I think it was something like 5 seconds over 18 months or something. So you could have a Tiny Pico RTC logger and the new battery saver companion board all connected at the same time? No. Because then you'd have 2 RTCs on there. It doesn't make any sense. You'd just have a tiny whatever and the... Yeah, you could already do... But you might as well just use Deep Sleep. You could just use the Tiny Pico and the RTC logger and Deep Sleep. That's already configured for that. Like, how long do you want it to run for? That's the question. Do you need magnetic if you don't need the retention force? I need magnetic, otherwise I don't have the contacts. Like, I can't rely on just proximity. Like, they need to actually connect to each other. They can't plug into each other. Again, I don't have enough room. The board's really narrow. So yeah, the problem is the connectivity for the board to make it compact, still easy to use, but also have meaningful saving on power. If it's not meaningful saving on the power, then again, why would people bother? Like, you know, why would they go from, you know, so like on the S3, why would they go from 22 microamps down to 18 microamps, right? They need to go from 22 microamps down to 5 microamps or 4 microamps. Like, it's got to be significant. Spring contact, too big. My boards are 8 millimeters wide. I need to be able to get an in and an out on an 8 millimeter wide board. It doesn't exist, unfortunately. So I'm back to the whole 3-pin SH connector on the bottom of each one with wires going between them, which is really annoying. But it depends on what sure, it depends on what you plug it into, but it's going to be a much harder sell getting... It's easy for me to pair my products with my products and much harder to convince people to use them for other products. And then, you know, what are they really using it for? Like, people who are buying, you know, Wemos boards or Liligo boards for their projects that have got notoriously bad deep sleep or way worse deep sleep than my boards have got, aren't a customer that are going to buy one of my boards, one of these savers, because it's going to be too expensive. You know what I mean? Like, they're buying these other boards because they're super, super cheap and they don't care about their deep sleep. If they did, they'd buy a Tiny Pico instead, right? Which will be, you know, more than double the price and give them, you know, a third of the deep sleep current, right? If they're not willing to pay that extra to go to a third of the deep sleep current, they're not going to pay $9, $10, $12 for a board to reduce their deep sleep on their existing board, because they, you know, I don't think anyway. So, you know, and if it's not ESP32 based, then they're probably not using it for something that requires battery and waking up and using radio and shutting down. Like, what are they using? Like, what options are there out there really that isn't ESP32 based? There are not nice small ribbon connectors that are easy to insert and pull out. Hey, Tech Nebulous, sorry. I need sound. Well, I haven't even redone this yet. That was my adapter board I made so I could add sound and SD card to my logo, but I flipped the connectors by accident. Haven't remade it. Spring battery connectors are low profile. Female version, just pads. Spring battery. Right, but you need something to connect this way to them. I need this way. And they're quite wide, the ones I've found anyway. Why's my thing shifted? That's a bit better. So, yeah, so it's not about talking myself out of it. I don't sit there talking myself into something or out of something. I let it stew. I let it simmer until either I get an aha moment or I find some free time and want to pursue it. It's hard to know if, as a standalone thing, if it's just worth it on its own. I thought about integrating it into my data logger, but I was already using up too many pins on my new data logger, that if I added something like that, then people couldn't add anything else to the board. Like, I know that there are people who are using my data logger with a screen, with my IPS display shield. And there are people using it with audio. Like, I needed to make sure that I kept pins free to do that. Any flexible PCB options for this? No, definitely not using frog pins, electronics. That'd be a nightmare. Like, you'd be working on the thing and then it'll go flying out somewhere. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, flexible wouldn't really... I couldn't really do my flexible PCB with any of my designs, because the whole point of a flexible PCB is to have enough space around the components to allow the board to flex. My boards are packed in so much that there's no place they can flex. The local commuter trains here are purple, so you know what I sing every time I catch one. Yes, okay, that's funny. RGB coffee. That's interesting. So yeah, but I thought it was about time to pull that back out again and finally show you what it was. If I could find the right connector, I wouldn't mind looking at an external something, maybe. But again, I think at this point in time, it would be more gimmicky than not, because most people would be happy just to leave the USB connector on there for the sake of, 7mm or 5mm. 3mm above board height. It's not the height, it's the width. Like, as I said, I've got 8mm wide board. I need to have a connector in and out. So I've got like 4mm on each, to put a connector in and a connector out. Catch you later, Christopher. Thanks for joining. So now I was going to build my LoRa boards because I've got them. But I did not get a chance to get my test environment set up, so I would have built them and not being able to validate them. But I will open some boards up if you want to have a look. These are my final Pro S3 second revision prototype, the ones that have got the new matching network on it. Don't need to pull that apart. And this is I don't know why they put these ones in paper. This is the Feather S3 of the same version. So my Tiny S3 has gone into production now. That's the Feather S3, final prototype. God, look at that. They didn't clean the edges. Anyway, with the updated matching network on it. So, whatever. And then these are my two LoRa boards. Would you need in and out if the spring connects to the PCB pads? Well, it's passed through. There's 50 of them in a row, or 60 of them, and it needs to pass power in and then out through them. So that's what I'm saying. So this is the LoRa board that does not have the switch. That just has the two antennas on it that are joined together. I should actually make sure that the LoRa chip fits, shouldn't I? Where are my LoRa stuff? Except that is not my LoRa. Oh, they're downstairs. Let me go and grab a LoRa module, a LoRa E5 module. I put them away with my components where they belong, and now I don't have one. Well, don't have one upstairs. I should have left one upstairs. Okay, where did I put them? I hope I put them up here. If not, I don't know where they are. No, maybe I didn't put them up here. That'll be embarrassing. Oh no, here they are. I did. Like a good boy, I put them away.
Moxie says, can you hear us?
I can, yes, I can, I heard that, yes. But I'm coming back upstairs now. Okay. So here's the awesome bag of individually bagged LoRa chips that Seed sent me by mistake. Okay. So I had to do a modified footprint to make this fit. The footprint is out of spec. So that's their module. Oops. So that's the module. Is that in focus? I think it is. Oh, we're trying to do autofocus. It's not. There we go. Okay. So, a bit wide for the tweezers. Doesn't matter. Yeah, I think that's going to work fine. They had a really massive pads hanging out. I think to allow for hand soldering. I don't know, but I had to modify that. No, I have 1mm LEDs. Is the PCB for the reels horizontal? No, it's vertical. It's actually on an angle in the back. My VNA issues are not resolved. No. Okay, anyway, so that's one of them. And then the other one is the same board but with the RF switch. I'm probably not going to go for this one in production, but I wanted to at least build one and validate that it works. So it's got the RF switch stuff over here. So I was going to build those today, but I would have built them and not been able to test them. So I need to get my testing environment set up first and validated so then I can test them. So probably next week on the stream. Yep. So I need to get onto that. Plus I need to build my final revision of the Feather S3 and Pro S3. They're identical to my current ones that are out there. Just like my Tiny S3 that's gone into production now are identical to my current ones. The only difference is they have the extra component space to be able to take them through certification if I want to. That's the only difference between them. You need to populate a LoRa E5 tomorrow. I need to populate a Compute 4 module, Mark, with Wi-Fi on it. Could you make a board that can fit in just like a RAM socket? For what purpose, Alan? For what? By the way, I do actually have a Tiny S3. Sorry. Yeah, I call it a Tiny S3. It's not a Tiny S3. It's got the same functionality as a Tiny S3 in M.2 format, which I've never done anything with. Whatever it costs, I'll cover it. I'll also buy the compute module off you, Mark. So, you know, I don't want you to be out of pocket. Right, let me get something from downstairs. Again, sorry. So the M.2 version of the one that I've got is not compatible with that Spark Fun stuff that they made. I can't remember what they called. Is it taking a tray out of the oven? So yeah, it's a different. I'm not really a fan of the way they've done their pinout. And again, I'm not going to go to market with this board because what's the point? But doesn't mean I don't like playing with it. Yeah, micro mod. So this is my, get out of the way. So this is my first run of my new Tiny S3 boards. So as you can see, they're pretty much identical. There is no change, no user-facing change, other than a reconfiguration down the bottom here to allow these extra components just here to add low-pass filtering to get rid of the secondary and third harmonics, which are a showstopper for certification. That's the only difference. They're using a different internal stack-up to get the 50 ohm impedance, but functionality-wise, they are identical. So this is my first batch. So you might, if anyone buys Tiny S3s in the future, you may get a P4 and you might get a P7, and they're identical. And it's the same with my Feather S3 and my Pro S3. I did that intentionally. I didn't want people annoyed about what version they got. It will make no difference to the usability of the board or anything else. Just so you can use it with a back plate. But for what though? You talking about for my real rack or just for something just in general? Oh, what's Rhoda posting AliExpress things for? Yeah, I've got reels of not these ones. Well, kind of. They're a different brand. I've got reels of these at the moment. I have a project that I'm working on. I thought about doing it on my stream today as well, but I wasn't quite ready for it. Yeah, so you can definitely get smaller. Wow, you can buy them single, can you? That is crazy. I'm waiting for the 0808 ones. Is the inverted silkscreen black text on white background a standard feature in KiCad? Black text on white background. I have no idea. But black text on white background, on white solder mask looks terrible from Fabs. You need an elevator. No, I need the stairs. I need the exercise on the stairs for sure. I'm sorry if I'm huffing and puffing. Oh, to stack up modules. Yeah, no, but you need the headers anyway. Like if you want to plug a board into a breadboard, which again, as I said, people do, it's a common expectation for a board that is a development board, you know, to be able to plug into a breadboard. So you need that anyway. No, that's just white solder mask. Oh, so those labels, no, so Greg Davil has a plugin for KiCad to do that. Called, I can't remember, but I'm loading it up now. Called Kai Buzzard. So it's basically, Buzzard was a thing that SparkFun made, I think, for Eagle, that allowed you to make these, and then Greg ported it over to Python and KiCad. So yeah, I could, you know, make it bigger, make it 2, and I could change to, you know, square on one side and circle on the other side, and go OK, and it's like that. So yeah, Interesting. That's actually P7. And that date is not correct either. How funny. Oh, I don't even know why I left that on there, but I'm not even going to save that. Doesn't matter. So yeah, it's not built into KiCad. You need to add it as a plugin. But yeah, called KiBuzzer. It's in the plugin manager thing that you can grab. This is a label, make it easier. Yeah. I don't think the ability to plug the board directly into a breadboard is critical, just as long as there's an interposer board for something to allow for it. I don't agree, Chris. Firstly, it's another thing someone needs that they have to buy, and then it's also a yeah. I'm sure there are many people as well, but there are also many times 1,000 more that aren't. Like, you got to look at the marketplace that I'm selling into. You know, currently, I'll have one of everything, Mark. Like, it's the maker and DIY space that are buying the majority of my boards, and they want breadboard compatibility. If they didn't, they wouldn't be buying them. So, you know, the many thing is subjective. You know, yeah. I don't know what those model numbers are though, Mark. People are going to cry themselves to sleep because Mark's got all of the CM4s. That's why we can't buy CM4s right now. Raspberry Pi CM4s, because Mark's got them all. So yeah, and I don't think an edge connector is the right way to go either. And the connector you need on the bottom for an edge connector, you know, if it's M.2, well then you need an expensive connector at the other end, and you need to be able to screw it down. Oh, Mike's back. Or, you know, if it's just a plug-in vertical, well, those connectors are massive. Like, I don't know what you'd gain and why you'd want to use something like that. Germany seems to have what? Really? I bet you I can't buy directly from them. I'm pretty sure that Core Electronics don't have anything. I want to redesign my test jigs and move away from the whole stacked Pi like I've got right now. I'm still getting USB issues, and I get less of them on my new design, which goes to show that there is definitely a heat issue contributing to it. And I reckon I could bypass a lot of those issues with a fully custom test jig board that has a CM4 drop-in. I think would be a way to go, but I can't buy CM4s. It needs to have Wi-Fi, and I prefer that it has eMMC. I can live with SD, micro SD, but I'd prefer eMMC. But it's got to have Wi-Fi, and they're the ones you just can't get right now. You can't get any Wi-Fi ones. You have to be in the Berry Club. The Berry Club? What's a Berry Club? Wi-Fi, I just need 2 gig. No Wi-Fi, no with Wi-Fi. Oh, it's from Berry Base. I won't buy from Berry Base anyway, so it doesn't matter. Theoretically, that should be a board design, but pins stay the same. What do you mean, a board design? Well, I don't need the breakout headers on it, the 40-pin headers, like broken out in any way, and I don't need the USB housing, and I don't need the Ethernet port, and there's stacks of stuff I don't need. It would be a massive redesign, because it needs to do all it needs to. Yeah, like it would be because it wouldn't plug into a Pi anymore. It would have a compute module plugs into it, so all the things that I use on the Pi right now, like the USB connectors, ports, and whatever else that aren't on the compute module, I'd have to actually do. But I wouldn't need to put USB connectors So let me, hang on. I shouldn't do this, but I just turned the pi off without shutting it down. That's okay. If I just go over to here, back to, my camera's getting a good workout today. I don't know if it's going to all fit under here. So here's my current test jig. Autofocus. Take that off. So I wouldn't need to do any of this USB stuff anymore. I'd need to do this one. But this here, I could just wire directly to it, right? I don't need to have USB ports. And I don't need to have the Ethernet, whatever else. But I'd still need to be able, I still need to break all that out coming to the board. It would be a very big redesign. But I could eliminate the need for the whole Pi at the bottom. I could make the whole thing smaller, and I could make it run a lot cooler, I think. But right now, it's about getting rid of this USB issue, which is like 100%. Well, it might not be the cause, but heat really exacerbates it. So the longer I run the test jigs for, the more boards I'm testing in a row, whatever, the more often the USB starts to fail. So I know migrate some of their testers to the RP2040. Yeah, I can't do that, unfortunately. Oh, catch you later, cable tie. You going? Got to work for the man. Bummer. Have a good day at work, mate. Restart the logo software. No, it's still running. Okay, I'll restart it, but it should be running. It said it was running. Okay, try again. Oh yeah, it wasn't doing anything. Okay, you were all too fast. Okay, it's working now. So anyway.
Mark Elson says Baz.
Yeah, I need to solve this USB thing on the test jigs. It's very frustrating. What was I just? Yeah, I can't move to an RP2040. Like they're doing a different type. They don't test their boards like a user uses their boards, and I will only test my boards like a user uses the boards. I mean, when they test and flash their board, they bit bang data to the flash or whatever, however they do it. You know what I mean? They don't connect a USB connector to it. They don't make sure the USB connector's connected properly. They don't, you know, they test the functionality of the board, which is fine, but you know, 90% of my failures that are going to be found are going to be by the user when they plug a USB connector in and it doesn't enumerate properly. You can't test the pins on a USB connector unless you plug a USB connector, a USB cable in. Whoa, why is that gone blurry? Wow. What is... Anyway, I have a large collection of CM4 modules. I take them out of the box and fondle them once in a while. Really? I'll buy. Catch you later, Alexandru. Yeah, you have to. It's the thing that fails the most. You know, I get USB connectors. I go through a lot of USB connectors, right? And, you know, I'm not buying Anfol or whatever at you know, $1 each in bulk because they're just too expensive, you know. And so I get USB connectors that are malformed inside or that, you know, have bent pins on them. You know, it just happens. You know, I've got a reel and it's just placing them, and occasionally I'll get a USB connector that's faulty, and I'll never know unless I plug the USB connector in, plug the USB cable in to test it. You know, there's only so much you can do with inspection. You can't see inside that there's a bit of plastic bent inside there and it stops you from plugging the cable in, right? It's impossible. or that one of the pins that, because it's got pins on top and bottom around the plastic on the inside, like you can't see that one of the pins is missing. So I have to test. It doesn't happen a lot, but all I need is one of those boards to go out untested, and then people can't use it, and I've got to replace it, and cost me money, cost me time, and it's a really bad experience for the user. So I had a project that was planned, and the other guy had some issues, and it fell through. I inherited the CM4 modules. Bummer. Well, if you've got any ones that are got Wi-Fi and eMMC and you want to sell some, let me know. I'm on the lookout for sure. Johnny killed the focus. Can we not? We're not having a compare on who's got the most CM4 boards. Okay, let's not do that. So I have no idea how long I've been streaming for now because I lost the start of the stream. How annoying is plugging the cable in? You could maybe make that easy with a fixed USB cable and rails or something. How's it a fixed USB cable? I need to test the actual connector on the board. And it is annoying, but it's just part of my testing process. It's, whatever. I've got to test the boards like they are, like they're being, used by a user. Right now the MOSFET hats are piles on top. What? Raspberry Pi 4 compute module 4, 2 gig AMC wireless. Is that okay for you? Yeah, great. That'll be great. I don't need 8 gig or even 4 gig. 2 gig is fine. No, let's not put up photos because I can't put any photos up. Actually, I've got one. I do have a CM4 module, but it doesn't have Wi-Fi. So I can put one up. An automated cable insertion isn't that hard to rig up? Of course it is hard to rig up, Chris. I don't need one of them. I need 4 of them or 6 of them. I need them to be easily reproducible and done. And the amount of effort involved in setting one of those things up and the maintenance on it for when they get broken by people or whatever, just plug the cable in and out. Sometimes, honestly, the simplest solution is just to plug something in and out and not try to reinvent the wheel. I love reinventing the wheel. We all know that, right? USB ports stay in the same location right now, but what's if I want to now, if I'm going to go compute module, what's if I want to test 5 boards at a time? I need then 5 USB. Actually, no, the USB does not stay in the same place. No, because each one of my boards is a different size and different shape. So no, it doesn't. But this part of the stream is 120 minutes, but that doesn't include the previous part, I don't think. Does it? I don't think so. It needs to be to get the Wi-Fi. Nah, that's just too complex a board. Most durable solution is to plug it in manually. It's the most durable, it's the quickest, and it's me testing it the way a user would test it. And I don't have to worry about, is my mechanical insertion and removal thing working properly? Because I don't need to. Yep, you missed the BGA Tiny Mini Super Compact Micro Tiny Pico Micro Mini thing. How you doing, Christos? Yeah, I don't need a solution for the plugging USB in and out, really. I don't. It's a really easy thing to do, and it's doing exactly what the user would do. I don't need any type of complex anything else sitting out there. There is an engineering solution for everything. That doesn't mean that's what you should do. So, yeah. I'm more interested in trying to solve testing multiple boards at the same time, and that's actually quite difficult because I have, like if I want to test 5 Pro S3s at the same time, I need to be able to test 140 I/O at the same time, which, that's a lot of I/O expanders on a board. So that's the bit I haven't worked out how to solve yet. And there's no point doing them in banks because then I'm not doing them simultaneously. So that defeats the purpose. You know, if I still have to connect 5 USB connectors and then pull 5 USB connectors out, and you know, I've got to sit a chunk of 5 boards in there, but they don't test at the same time, then I haven't saved myself that much time. Not for the amount of effort involved in trying to get all that working. I'd rather have it test simultaneously. If I was building 5 million, I'd get someone else to make them and test them. I'm not that stupid. Like, I'm all for making my own designs, you know, manufacturing here, but I wouldn't manufacture, you know, there's a certain quantity that I don't want to go beyond in terms of making them. I'd get someone else to do it. So I don't quite know what that quantity is yet. That, you know, 5,500 boards I did for Swarm that was a challenge, just in terms of the time frame I needed to get them done. You know, that was Groundhog Day every day for quite a while. So, yeah, I don't know what my limit would be. It depends on the time frame to need to make them. Hey, Death Shaker. But, yeah. Come on, Sion, you could use something like this. It would be awesome. Uh-oh. Am I going to get rickrolled? I'm going to get rickrolled, aren't I? Charge your prototype finding its way. Oh, right. Yeah, okay, I saw that. That's the... You've all seen this. That weird thing, like from the abyss, the snaky thing. What is the success failed ratio of what? Of my boards, of my manufacturing? It's my yield is incredibly good. I can't tell you what the exact numbers are anymore. Like, you know, like I guess it really depends. You know, I ran 60, 45, so 100. I built 105 boards yesterday and had there was one component missing off one board. I don't understand how the component was missing, because the pick and place machine should have picked that up, but it didn't. There was one 3.3K resistor, 042 resistor, missing off one board, and everything else was perfect. No changes, no anything needed. So I don't know, what's that? That's pretty good. Uh-oh. Here's another one from Bruce. But it really depends. It depends on the state of my paste at the time. Oh, that's just the same. Well, that's a different one. That looks phallic. That's just, yeah, that's, yeah. So not necessary. Really so not necessary. Hey, Dutchmaker, any problems with the chip shortage? Yeah, it's just pricing on stuff, really. Availability for me is okay, but pricing is hit and miss, mostly miss. Got a new paste by a Japanese company that worked so much better than the others before. What is it? What? Do you have a link? So the problem for me with my paste is just the temperature, right? Environment. Yeah, do you have a link for the paste though? Or like what is it? What status for new pick and place machine is I can't afford one. Status is long way away from getting a new pick and place machine, unfortunately. 317. Catch you later, Shaq. Thanks for staying up so long. Genmar paste. Is my need end still working fine? No. No, it's not. Yeah, whatever. Except all the cookies. All the cookies. Hello. That's a great website. Okay. I'm not even in the EU, so why is it asking me? Hey, Michael. 25 more CM4s with estimated delivery November 23. Jesus. That's a long way away. So my oven is, I got some of the fans in my oven are dying. You can hear them and rattling. And my pick and place still has the same issues that it's had for a year and a half that Neoden won't fix. So, yeah. Okay, so what do they got? Hello Free, SMD, properties. They don't tell you enough in this to know what to click on. I don't want water. Do I have any RMA? It's what happens when you buy Chinese machines. Like, I never want to buy a Chinese machine ever again. Ever again. Any type of Chinese machine, ever again. The problem isn't necessarily the, no, I don't want to my data either. Sorry. They're weird machines. The problem with is not so much the hardware, although the hardware fails, is that no one in China will back up their hardware. Like, they just, every time I have an issue with the machine, Neoden try to blame it on me as a user error or something wrong with my file. Like, my cameras don't work. Oh, must be my file. My feeders aren't working anymore. Oh, it must be me. It's just frustrating. No one will ever admit that they that there could be a problem with their. Sorry, I wanna. Which one are you using, Christos? See, they're not. They don't have enough details on here. Like, that's great. What is it? What actually is the flux? Do I have to go into the data sheet? Do I? To actually find out what the flux is. Not even a Chinese rice cooker. Yeah, I'm talking about for production line stuff. Flux type. No clean. Okay. I want RMA based. Yeah, okay. Interesting post. I'll have a look through it. This is the best to ever plug in your car. Oh, really? Hey, James. Some sort of post, but it's very boring restocking my usual stuff. I got new paste yesterday. My usual RMA based SAC 305, which is awesome when they actually ship it to me. It's really nice and shiny and wets really well. I've moved off the water-based stuff just because it's too temperamental. Just the swings in ambient temperature cause the water-based to be problematic. 405. Interesting. How low is their melting point? See, it doesn't say. Why can't they put the specs on the page? Desktop NPs, but they'll seem like every machine would be slow and or disappointing. Yeah, well, they are. Like, you can't get a lot of speed out of a desktop pick and place machine. They're too small. Like, you need weight on them to be able to stop the moving around. Sorry. Melting temperature 106 to 206. But it's a SAC. Oh, it's got bismuth. What? It said it was a SAC. It didn't say. Didn't that say... Oh, as opposed to SAC. Right, it said SAC 305 there. Interesting. Okay. I might give them a look. I might buy some. Except, where can I get it from? That's the problem. I don't want to get it from Europe. I'm happy to buy a jar. I don't necessarily need a sample, but I need to find somewhere closer than shipping it from Europe. It'll get destroyed shipping it from Europe by the time I get it. I don't know if I want to see that. Do I want to see that for robot for plugging in your car? Yeah, that's a download link. And project cancel. I don't know what that is. I'm not going to grab that. Yeah, my next step up again. If I'm going to get a new pick and place machine, unless this one dies and I need to replace it, like urgently, my next machine has to be considerably faster. Like considerably faster. Like I want a minimum of a 5 times. It's safe, the link? Okay, I'll try it again. Catch you later, Alan. Oh, how funny. Okay, so that's the link. A robot for charging your car. Yeah, okay. Yeah, my next pick and place has to be 5 to 6 times faster than my current machine, or it's just not worth me. Unless I have no choice because this one dies, which possibility. Yeah, I need much faster. Not that I'm making that many boards per day. It's not the point. It's how long it takes to make boards when I'm making them. Yeah. Only doable with used Yamaha, Samsung, or something. Oh no, there's a lot more than just Yamaha and Samsung. But yes, like you need, the Yamaha, Samsung, Juki, Genesis, Europlacer. I mean, there's a lot of different brands and options, but they're all, yeah, it's all going to have to be second hand because I, can't afford $500,000 to $1.5 million for an as new, like a new of anything that's fast, even anything that's slow. SM Tech pick and places are not very good. No. Well, reputable. I don't know. Like it's they don't have any, any position really in the marketplace that I'm aware of. Like not like other brands do. And if you look at the specs on their machines, they're quite. They might be okay machines, but they're not. Yeah, I'm a tiny millionaire. A tiny millionaire. That's a millionaire divided by, 5 decimal places or 6. Yeah, I got a price for a second-hand Hanwha, which is the Samsung. It's the Chinese version of the Samsung, but it's Samsung. Like it's so they're a very well-built machine with really good support. And yeah, it was a second-hand machine with all the feeders I needed was $129,000 for like a 2011. Could have been a 2012 model. I mean, $129,000. Like not a chance. Yeah. And even that Genesis, which I almost bought that Genesis. I'm glad I didn't. That Genesis was going to cost me $55,000. Like it would have taken a long time to pay that Genesis back. On a side note, funny how an informed experience can influence a brand's reputation. Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of feel the same way with Neoden right now. Like people asking me about Neoden and I'm saying no, don't do it. I cannot recommend anyone buys a Neoden machine at all. The problem is, it's not that they're necessarily a terrible machine or they don't work. It's that when something goes wrong with them, you're screwed because like you can't buy, like it's all proprietary hardware inside. You can't buy spare parts for them. I couldn't fix my machine if I wanted to without either Neoden giving me the parts, which they refused, or Neoden selling me the parts, which they refused. And so, unless they are willing to give me the spare parts, I cannot fix my machine. And they won't fix it because they never believe it's their hardware that's at fault, which is just ridiculous because hardware fails. We all know hardware fails, you know. Yet apparently, it's never their machine's fault. So I can't recommend anyone buys a Neoden solely from the point of view that if something goes wrong with the machine, that's it. You're done. You're over. You can't fix it yourself. There's no spare parts market for a Neoden machine because it's all proprietary. You can only get it from there. And no, you can't just go and reverse engineer the hardware and try to make your own and fix it. No, they don't sell spares. No. And they won't replace the hardware, and they won't even agree that it's the hardware that's at fault, even though I know for a fact it is because, as I mentioned, Core Electronics had the same problem with their pick-and-place machine, and they had to go legal action to get their camera module replaced, and it fixed their problem. So, I mean, I could do that, but, yeah, anyway. Yeah, anyway, solution Lumen PNP. Not a solution for me, sorry. It's I need a pick and place machine that can do fast. So my machine is already 5 times faster than the Lumen PNP. And has feeders and has 8 heads and a conveyor and can be fully automated. Like, yeah. Yeah, Lumen PNP is not a production machine. Yeah, nothing wrong with it. It's got an absolutely valid marketplace, but it's not a production machine. It's not a toy. It's a machine. It's just not a production machine. So, yeah, and none of the desktop ones are. None of the Open PNP ones are. None of the build it yourself ones are. And not even a lot of the ones you can buy that are got attachments for feeders and stuff are really good enough for that. No, I think it'd be like comparing an Apple Silicon CPU to your CPU, James. Yeah, being able to fix it yourself or being able to get spare parts is key. And, you know, with the second-hand market of pick-and-place machines with the reputable brands, you can get spare parts and you can get that. There's a whole marketplace for that. That might be expensive, you know, they might, you know, take time to get, but you can get it and you can get manuals, you can get whatever. Like, I can't even get documentation. Like, I've still got a board in my Neoden machine at the back controller board that's got those blown capacitors on them that they will not replace the board. Like, it's got scorch marks on the board from blown capacitors and they won't replace the board. Stephen, hi and bye. I didn't even know you were there, so hello and goodbye. Thanks for joining. So yeah, again, like I've had a few people ask me recently and I just said to them, don't do it because you can't fix the machines when they go down. And I can't afford to have a machine go down. I can't pull my machine apart and try to reverse engineer their lighting module for their cameras to rebuild my own to fix a deficiency on their machine. Because apart from the fact that that's going to be a time-consuming process, I have no machine while I do that. I can't be without a machine. So, you know, it's not going to happen. And it's not just a matter of reverse engineering just their particular bit of hardware. I mean, their whole lighting module on their machine. Like, I need to get the same LEDs that they're using. They're some kind of whatever weirdo LEDs that have got no markings on them. And they've got hundreds of them on this thing. Like, it's just be impossible. It's not Charmhigh, it's Neoden. I wouldn't go visit Charmhigh. I'd go set their place on fire. That's beside the point. But But anyway, people are free to do what they want to do. Like, you know, the appeal of a Chinese machine is they're cheap, right? And they're affordable for people. Catch you later, Rhoda. And I get that. I totally get that. But I'm in a different space than most people are that are buying pick and place machines. Either you're a company that you need something reliable and fast, you're not buying Chinese, right? Or you're going Chinese and you know the repercussions of it. But working with the iPulse S20 pick and place, which is quite good. And also we have 2 other lines with Fujis. Yeah. The is that the Yamaha? Is that an iPulse? The S20 is the Yamaha? Yeah, the Yamaha. Yeah, I mean, incredible machines. Hang on. But way out of my price range. Like, second-hand are horrific here. Because there's no second-hand market in Australia. Right, Hawker Richards. Like, oh my God. So, you know, this is, like, they won't talk to me unless I'm prepared to put down $300,000. Right? On a machine like this. Like, I can't afford the pick and yeet machines. Yeah, the best pick and throws. Yeah, I've checked them all. I know all the machines. I've been actively looking at everything for the last year and a bit. The problem is there's no marketplace in Australia for secondhand except for Hawker Richards, who are just horrifically expensive because no one's got secondhand. They've either got really, really, really old machines, like really old Juki or Samsungs that are just spec-wise nowhere near my machine, and they still want, you know, $80,000 for them, or I'm going to buy something from overseas and bring it in. Like that Genesis machine I was looking at, of that $59,000 it was going to cost me, like $20,000 of that was the shipping. $20,000 just to ship it here, and that was just from the Philippines. Yeah, hey Pro Engineer. Yeah, the Fujis are great. Like, but these are all, you know, yeah. I can't afford to do it. Like, there's no way I would. There's no way I'd consider going and taking out a $250,000 loan to get a faster pick and place machine in today's climate, right? Like, silicon shortage hasn't ended yet. Some things are getting better, some things aren't yet. Global financial crisis, like, it's going to get way worse before it gets better. My sales overall have dropped like 70% over the last couple of months. There's just too much uncertainty. So why would I go and take out a loan for minimum of $250,000, right? Minimum. I won't do it. But at some point, this pick and place machine is going to die and I'm not going to be able to get it fixed. And then I don't know what I'm going to do. Because wow, nice one. Oh, Mark beat me to it. Thanks. You can buy a Sony F130. It's an old machine, but it's damn reliable. Yeah, but I need what are the specs? Like, I need something fast, and I can't buy one because where do I get one from? That's what I'm saying. Like, there's no second-hand market here. I'd have to buy from overseas. Right, what's its actual real components per hour though? Because 30,000 is it's their maximum, right? Maximum with a single component loading up with one move. Right, approximately 18, okay. So that's 4 times faster than what I've got right now. And how much what is it? Sony F130. Sony F130. Pick and place. Oh, this one had pricing on it though. Want someone with pricing. 2006. That's pretty old. I want to know what the specs are. Find another cheap neodymium for spare parts. I don't want to. Yeah, maybe if Core ever sell theirs, maybe. One head, $12, 40 front, 40 rear. Oh, not enough feeders. Not enough feeders. Feeder positions. And what's this minimum size it can do? 0402. Okay, still, anyway. Yeah, overseas. Overseas is a different, totally different marketplace to Australia. And I just, all the cheaper machines get gobbled up overseas, and all that's left are the more expensive machines, and then, cost a fortune. Europlace is just way too expensive. Way, like in Australia, forget it. Check this out. Where's it? Shopping. Yeah, so look at this. So the Atom 4, in Australia, $32 million. The Ineo 2, $830,000. That would be a whole production line, not just the 4. But anyway, Europlacer is insanely expensive here. Yeah. By the way, who was saying that they were looking at the YY1? I've only seen terrible stuff about the YY1 right now, so I don't want to move to Sheffield. No offense, and Palmer only have no time for me to be running my stuff on their machines. I want my own. Yeah, I've seen. I think the YY1 is an interesting concept, but I think it's way too proprietary again, and it's got issues, and you got to wait for Neodym to fix it. And I reckon a lot of their issues are hardware related in their first revisions. Yeah. Pomerani were ace. Unfortunately, we didn't get long there because they cancelled the trains on us on the way there, and we lost like an hour of the trip, which was so frustrating. Well, it won't be sold in the EU because they're not certifying it, from my understanding. They're not CE certifying it because it's too expensive. That's why they're keeping it cheap. And it's just got problems. Like, it's just people who have got them have massive, like, head crashing, smacking into the side of the machine and all sorts of stuff. We just can't fix it. I think Adafruit have got a Samsung, like an older Samsung, one or two Samsungs. I can't remember exactly which model they've got. I think they mentioned it at some point. So yeah, it's just it failed. I don't know if it went into certification. My understanding, I heard from anyway, doesn't matter. Was it a bigger operation? They're massive. Like their warehouse they've moved into, like it looks like they've got stacks of room, but they're going to run out of it, just like they did the first one. It was a great space, and I forgot to take photos because I was just so enthralled in the discussions, and we were just so time limited. Okay, thank you very much, Dutchmaker. Yeah, I couldn't remember what they had. What's a potential alternative in the EU for less than 10K? I don't think there is. It's a space where you just can't get anything reliable as a pick and place machine. There's a reason why that's a difficult space and there isn't a lot. I mean, SMT, honestly, maybe, I don't know, but small SMT, they're in Europe. I mean, they've got the kind of desktop-y, they're much more expensive than the Charmhigh. They've got their pick and place machines. The machines are made in China, but they're made for, except all, go away. But they're made for SMT, small SMT. And Christos has got one of these now. So they've got, I mean, they look similar to the Charmhigh type things, right? But they're different because they all come from the same type of referencey type machine originally. But this has got positions for 3, so you've got feeders at the back as well as the sides. It's got vision and stuff, like stuff like that, all the way up to stuff like, really? Why'd that? But they're much more expensive though. So that was kind of like my 540, but different. Like the feeders are on the side, not at the front. I'd be looking at those, but I don't think you're going to get anything. I don't think you're going to get 10 grand. Sorry. Like how many heads do you want? Yeah. I spoke to them early on when I was looking at a machine, and they couldn't get me a machine fast enough. So this is their 4-head model. It's got vision. And it can take some 22 CL feeders, and it's got 35 and then 16 at the back of push feeders, which are problematic. But this is a desktop machine. But yeah, look, be that plus VAT. That's for 2 heads, 4 heads, that plus VAT, and they're tricky and problematic, and you're going to get pull tape issues, and you're going to get a lot of tuning, like my original desktop Charmhigh was. Like it took me months to tune the heck out of that to get it to be even semi-reliable, and it was never fully reliable. Yeah, that's what Christos has got. You got the 4-head one or the 2-head one? I think you got the 4-head one, didn't you? So I'd be looking at that if you really wanted something, because you'll get support from these guys. Oh, you got the 2-head. Ah, bugger. You'll get support from these guys, and they write their own software, and the software is better than the Charmhigh crap. So that's the only thing I could possibly. I haven't owned one. Christos has got one. It's the only one I could probably recommend. Yeah, it takes a lot of time to understand how these, to get them really working well and reliably. And they're not great for small size components. They say they can do 0402, but the fact is the machines wobble too much to do 0402 out of a CL feeder. Like it can only do pneumatic. Yeah, you need separate air for them and other stuff, and I believe. Yeah, so it sounds like a Charmhigh. Yay. Like a reliability like a Charmhigh. Yeah, other than that, I don't know what else to recommend. It's a really tough market space. It's just what makes a pick and place useful. You lose a lot of that when you try to shrink things down or make them cheap. Yeah. Catch you later, Dave. You're probably gone. Sorry, I missed it. You want 6 heads? You're not going to get it for $10,000. Not a chance. Sorry, dude. You're looking, wrong price range. No, definitely not 6 heads or above. You're looking at 20+ thousand and something much bigger. You're not going to get that in a desktop. If you are, it's going to be something odd that isn't going to work reliably, that you're not going to get support for, that you'll never be able to get working reliably. Yeah, it's a tricky space. Dave Jones, he has some connections on Australia with manufacturers. Ask him for what, though? Ask Dave for what? He doesn't. Yeah, I've got a board in production which has ESP32 C3 Mini. He won't know anyone with used PNPs. I don't want to buy a used PNP from Australia. As I said, the people who are selling used pick and place machines in Australia are selling old junk that have been overworked because they paid top dollar for them when they got them. I don't want a third hand. There are people selling third hand and fourth hand machines. I'm not interested in that. And they still want too much money for them. Yeah. And I don't want to buy a pick and place off an individual necessarily. So yeah, as I said, there's no marketplace here in Australia. People are holding on to their pick and place machines because they can't afford to replace them because they're just horrifically priced here. Yeah. So let's, and anyone that's selling pick and place machines do it through Hawker Richards, or actually they do it through, what's it called? What are they called? What's their... Oops. Can never remember what their other products. Hang on. Resurface. That's right. Resurface, which is this is the second-hand side of their business, right? So what have they got? Let's have a look at what pick and place machines they've got. Okay, sold. Europlacer for sale. This Europlacer has been on there for 2 years, over 2 years, right? And I spoke to them about it ages ago, and they wanted $150,000 for it without feeders. And it's still sitting there. And then they've got like this old, okay, they've got a Philips Yamaha Topaz, 1999. No warranty offered or implied. 10 8mm feeders. Great. I need like another 100 feeders for it. And what hours has it got on it? It's done... What? Hang on. I need to get that bigger. I need to see if there's a... I'll save that image to downloads. Hang on. I need to see if there's a decimal point in this or not. Oh my God. See, look at this. Really? It's done 22,324 hours. There's a decimal point there. That's why I needed to check it. So what's 22,300 hours divided by 24 hours in a day? Right? Assuming it's been running for 24 hours a day, it's ran for 929 days straight. But the chances are, if they're only running it 10 hours a day, it's been running for like, what? 20, oh my God, 2,2,3,2,4 divided by 10 hours a day. What has just happened to my... Right, 10 hours a day is to 2,2,3,2 days divided by 365. It's been running for 6 years non-stop. Yeah, why would I buy that? Like, that's just crazy. And they probably want, $60,000 or $70,000 for it. It won't be a couple of K. What? Oh, right, okay. So, yeah, I just, the marketplace, as I said, the market here is just ridiculous. 6 years, so yeah, brand new, yeah. But you can get parts for them. Great, but I don't want a project. I want a pick and place that runs, that works. Anyway, we always end up on pick and place topics, which is fine. I like pick and place machines, but yeah, I just so I keep waiting until I find the machine of my dreams that I can afford, or I just don't. Hey Graham, I didn't know you got an appointment. Yeah, I think it's I'm procrastinating. Oh my god, it's 10 o'clock. What time did I start? 7? 3 hours I've been going. Okay. I need to go pick and place. I have many boards to make. And I need to test these, my first batch. They've been cleaned. They've all been tested. I test them again after I clean them. What's my dream machine? I don't have a specific dream machine, but like I want a machine that can do 30 to 45,000 components per hour. And can do, yeah, 0201 and up reliably. And I don't know, like I don't have specific because there are a lot of choices in that range, you know, in that spec range, but none of them are affordable for me. You know, there's secondhand Fuji, secondhand Yamahas, secondhand Samsung, secondhand Universal, Philips, Abletron, whatever. I probably wouldn't want to go there. I don't know. But they've all got their pros and cons. Like most of the, you know, like that Hanwha machine I was looking at that was $129,000. The software on it is like terrible. Like it's really old and like you can use it, but it's, you know, it's running, you know, it's DOS, it could be DOS based, I think from memory. I don't know if I'll ever retire. I can't see myself ever retiring or ever affording to retire, but I don't know. Like it just doesn't make any sense for me to spend $150,000 plus on a pick and place machine for the size of my business, because my business is never going to be getting bigger. It'll be worth calling resurface and having a chat. They can look out from machine. Oh, I did. I've spoken to them a few times. Like no. There's no marketplace here. That's the problem. It's not about looking out. It's people. Most people that have machines here that are machines that they want to get rid of, they bought new, right? Or they bought at an extremely high price and want to get money back for them, you know, or they've used them to death. There was a guy selling 2 Jukies on Facebook. He bought a Europlacer. He's got these 2 Jukies, and he wanted, I think it was $26,000 each for them or something, which wasn't too bad, except they were really old, and he'd done like 40, 50,000 hours on each one. Like he'd like ran the heck out of them. Like, why would I want to buy a machine that is already at its end of its life? Like, you know, it's been abused basically. And that was with no feeders, right? I still have to buy feeders, and, you know, the other problem with buying off Resurface or Hawker Ridge is, and you got to buy a maintenance contract with them. Like, they won't just sell a machine straight up like that. You won't get any support or anything for them, and they're, you know, got to drop $2,000 or $3,000 a year just to have a maintenance contract. That's not including them doing anything. It's just, yeah. If I'm going to buy a second-hand machine, it's not going to come from locally. It's going to be from overseas. What I'd have to pay on shipping, I would more than save on the price of the machine and the access to lots of stuff. The problem is it's a very busy marketplace overseas. Like, you know, you look at a machine and you ring them up, oh, that was sold yesterday. Sorry. You know, there's stuff listed on these websites that, you know, they were sold months ago. They just haven't taken them down. So reaching out to, like I did that already. Like I reached out to like 7 different companies. I think only 3 got back to me. And they got back to me with things that were totally different to what I asked for. because that's all they had in stock. Yeah, not even, oh, sorry, we don't have that in stock. It's like, here, buy one of this instead. Like, no thanks, that's not what I'm looking for. Hey, I need an oven, and it's got to be, maximum of 3.2 meters long, with four zones top and bottom. Yeah, okay, so the one they send me back is 9.5 meters long. I go, it's too long. They go, that's all I've got. I said, okay, why'd you send me back that? Like, just tell me you don't have anything. Yeah, stuff like that. Anyway, whatever. What? Who got his money's worth? Yeah. So I don't know what my dream machine would be. Something that works and that's faster than what I've got. And if Neoden weren't such assholes, honestly, I would have bought a second Neoden by now and had two on my line to get faster. Like I could have done all small components on one and large on the other. It wouldn't have doubled my speed, but it would have, maybe increased my speed by 60%. And, I would have been able to share feeders and share project files and stuff. Micronics are very expensive for what you get. Underspec'd, overpriced. The same with my data. I'm not saying they're bad machines, but they're, yeah. But, Neoden lost a second. They lost a Neoden 10 and a Iron 12 oven order off me because they wouldn't fix my 8. Like, this is crazy. Like, I was ready to buy because I couldn't get a replacement machine, and I got no redundancy, right? A Neoden 10 would have given me redundancy, but they wouldn't fix my 8. So why would I buy more machines, more stuff off them? Like, they lost out big time. And they're losing out sales, as I'm telling people not to buy. Like, I know someone that was about to buy, put their order in, and they decided not to. Let Neoden know, and Neoden were really pissed. What are you going to do? If you don't support your machines, then who's going to buy your stuff? Okay, anyway. I think it's, honey, I'm home, so I'm on the road. I missed not much. What? You didn't miss anything. We're just talking about pick and place machines. Works now for me somehow. It's slower than I hoped. There's lots of learning. Well, a forehead would have made it faster, but yeah, like that's the thing. You can't get speed at that size. Closing my mind eventually to get in small differences who need in. It's you definitely don't want a YY1. Wait till their 4th, 5th revision. Seriously. Like, they fixed some of the problems in their Neoden 8, but they fixed them in hardware on the production line, and mine can never be fixed because they don't backport their fixes, and they won't provide me with replacement parts to fix things that were wrong with the machine. Like, I still have to turn my machine on every morning, warm it up, and then go and actually calibrate every nozzle and every feeder position every time I turn the machine on. Every time. Because it is out of alignment every time it turns on. Right? Because there's just something wrong with the linear encoders and the way it all works. Like, it doesn't initialize and it gets a perfect initialization. You can see it's initialized perfectly, yet the nozzles are not even close to being in the center of the nozzle for pickup position. So it misses picking up the 0402 components off the feeder because where it thinks the camera is and the nozzle is different. Like, every time I turn it on, I have to do that. Now, I bought this from EM Logic, but EM Logic can't do anything. Like, Neoden won't give me the parts, they won't give EM Logic the parts. So, I mean, that's on EM Logic. Like, at the end of the day, I could do what Graham at Core did. I could threaten EM Logic. And then, EM Logic will legally have to fix my machine. And then I can leave the issue with Neoden. But, I'm going to burn bridges. It's going to be an ugly thing to do. And the fact is, just Neoden are being assholes. Like, anyway. How do the bigger machines fix the precision linear rail encoders on it? No, they just don't put faulty parts in the machine, or they replace them. If they're faulty, they fix them. Right? So the newer machines don't have this problem, but mine does, and the first machines do. So clearly there was a problem in the construction of or parts or something. Hey, Dale. and it's been rectified, great. So how about fixing mine? Oh, no. They think it's okay that I have to waste half an hour every morning recalibrating the whole machine from scratch every time to be able to make sure it picks up and places in the right spot. Like, that's acceptable to them. So, you know, that's just the thing with dealing with China. You know. Anyway. Yeah, it is what it is. Yeah, well, the only time they agreed to help me is when I said to them, "We're done," and I'm going to let my community know now. Like, I've had these issues going on for over a year now, and I haven't been, like, I didn't run to my channel like I did with the Charm High stuff and start bitching about Neoden. I gave them an opportunity to come good and do the right thing, and they didn't. They wouldn't. And the only time that they said that they'll help me out was when I said, "Okay, I'm done. I'm going to go to my channel now and let people know." And you know, and they said, "Oh, no, please don't do that. We'll send you whatever you want." I'm going, "No, too late." Like, I know I did that, you know, I bit off my nose to spite my face, whatever the expression is. But the fact is, they don't want to look bad in other people's eyes, but they're quite happy, if I'm not prepared to say anything, to shaft me. I don't really want to make an update video about it because I don't want to turn my channel into the whole whinge about another Chinese company. Like, I don't need that. Like, I've got a whole nother story about the company I'm dealing with right now for my stencil printer, and it looks like they're going to come good because I still haven't got it yet, and it was touch and go for the last 2 weeks about whether I had lost $30,000 and whether I was going to get this equipment or not through their fuck up that I have in writing, but they basically held a gun to my head or, you know, lose your money. Anyway, long story. Let's see if it gets delivered first. Maybe one day I'll tell you the story on that. But I'm just done with dealing with Chinese companies. They're all the same. Unfortunately, it's just frustrating. And I'm not interested in going to my channel, making a video and getting the whole, "Oh, serves you right for dealing with a Chinese company again, blah, 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 blah. What do you expect? Blah, 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 blah. You know, it's your fault, blah, 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 blah. I should have learned your lesson, blah, 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 blah." You know what I mean? Like, I'm not sure I'm in the headspace to deal with that in a reasonable manner. But I also want people to know, don't buy Neoden. You know, or no. Or if you buy Neoden and something goes wrong, you're screwed. Like, really screwed. They will not support you. So, oh, Dale, we've got to watch from the start. I'm not going back to it now. Sorry, mate. I know you just came on, but it's been over a 3-hour stream. And with a gap in the middle where I lost the internet. When I was young, I was told never to trust a Chinaman. What? They're a good and bad Chinese company too. It just sucks having to weed out the learning. Yeah, I'm not sure. Okay, I know. I just didn't realise group together. I'm talking in the space I'm talking about. Like, I don't think there is. It's not that they're good or bad. Their expectation of what's acceptable or not is just totally different. You know, they sell Chinese machines to a Chinese market, and the expectation is that they don't have to support them. And if something goes wrong with the machine, the Chinese ingenuity of the people who have it will fix it or deal with it. You know what I mean? Like, that's just their expectation. And the flip side is their expectation for Westerners is that we are, you know, that I am a white, wealthy or rich person and that I can afford it. Like, I can, you know, big deal. I just, you know, the money's inconsequential to me, apparently, because, you know, they all know me so well. Like, there's just this expectation that, I don't know what that is, Michael. Like, I got really nasty with the company that I bought the stencil printer stuff from, and I'm not going to tell you about it yet. We'll see what happens first. It might be getting delivered. It's in Australia. It might be getting delivered maybe next week. I don't know. When it gets here, then I'll tell you the story. But let me just say, it's been Another very frustrating process. Sometimes a big headache, but best thing is a surprise visit and be really angry. Yeah, like I don't want to do either. Like, no, I'm sure there's some great Chinese companies out there. I'm talking about the ones that manufacture and sell hardware outside of China. That's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about ones that that make and sell hardware outside of China and won't support it, which is pretty much all of them. You know, you get something from AliExpress and it doesn't work, and you always have to go and put in a refund request. You always got to go to the arbitrators, like, you know what I mean? Like, you contact the seller and go, hey, you sold me something that doesn't work properly, it's defective, whatever else, and they'll do everything they can to not replace it or fix the problem, right? You always have to go to AliExpress to get it sorted out. Like, it's the same thing at different levels. Very different to a company over there selling a service, like manufacturing facility, like a CM or someone. That's different. Although issues, but you know what I mean? I think it's different to the whole just selling a bit of hardware out there. A friend on a trip in the Chinese factory making his stuff was impressed with their tool used to align the fans. Large hammer, spin and hit. Right. Well, you're not supposed to see how the sausage is made. That's the whole thing. Tell them the same, they would easily do me. Right. And having someone local helps. But I am still live. I'm procrastinating now. I need to do a lot of pick and placing, and I'm procrastinating. But that's okay. We're having a good chat. And greetings to you. In fairness, you've had bad experience with many companies that aren't Chinese too, right? Kill for a Chinese... like who? Not really. Like, remind me, Aaron? You got to go back and watch the start of the stream. It was a very long conversation. Lots of stuff. Sorry. You're not going to get a TLDN from me. Maybe someone else. So what experience have I had with non-Chinese companies too? Who have I been? I mean, Siglent are a Chinese company. And look at that, you know. Still got a VNA sitting here that I can't use. There's been no updated firmware. I mean, Siglent are Chinese, so they're still a Chinese company. You know, I've had issues with my Prusa, and Prusa, no problem. Bang, spare parts in the mail. DHL Express, parts arrived 7 days later. Fixed my machine. No questions asked. All I had to do was took a video of the machine, showed it, uploaded it. They said, yeah, no worries. They even offered to pay for me to send the Mark III back to them, DHL Express, for them to fix and send it back to me again. Like, that would have cost them an absolute fortune. But I said, that's just crazy. Just send me the parts. I'll do it myself, right? Yeah. And VNA was not, like, you know, this is one of the most, well, they got more expensive VNAs, but like, this wasn't a cheap VNA. No, it's just, it's the expectation that you're on your own. What's your local takeaway like? Takeaway food? Yum. Local Chinese takeaway? Great. You know, but they're Aussies. Like, they might be Chinese descendant, but they're Aussies. They wouldn't do that. An Aussie doesn't do that to another Aussie. Or, okay, you got bad people in every community. I sell from China too, but I send replacement parts and boards all the time. Right, you're not a Chinese company. Right, it's like the same thing. Like, you know, people buy one of my boards and something's wrong with it, and it's clearly user error. Like, you know what I mean? And I send them another board. Like, it's not even about getting a bad name because they didn't look after the customer or whatever else. Like, it's, you know, so they made a mistake with the board, they did something silly, or I try to help them at least. If they've got the skills, like, I've sent in the mail at my expense, I'm not talking about pre-COVID, I'm talking about $22 to send it, sent a strip of 5 diodes to someone in Europe who blew some diodes on a couple of their boards, on multiple boards, because they tried it on one board and blew the diode, didn't know what they were doing, and so then tried it on another board and blew the diode. They didn't put backfeed protection on some motors that they wired directly to the I/O, right? Whoops. I didn't send them replacement boards because they were skilled enough to, well, they said they were skilled enough to replace the diodes. Like I paid $22 Aussie and sent them a thing of diodes so they could fix their boards. Like, I didn't have to do that. Like, that wasn't on me. It wasn't something I did wrong. I don't know, like, it's just not a big deal. You know what I mean? Like, it's and extrapolate that out. If I had someone who, spent a fortune on a board of mine for whatever, not that there is one, and there was a problem, man, I'd bend over backwards to try to help them. I don't care where they are. I don't care if it's a Joe Blow or a company that has more money than, that their petty cash tin is more than I make in a year. I don't care. Like, I try to offer the same to everyone. It's just a respect thing. No, it was the S3, like all my boards at the start. Yeah, I sent out new boards to everyone. I think there were a couple of people I missed because they didn't get back to me or whatever. I even sent out new boards to people that weren't having problems with their boards, with all of their boards. Like, I just sent out new boards. Like, I think I stopped counting how much that cost me once I went over the $4,000 mark. Like, once I'd lost like $4,000 on the replacement boards, I just stopped counting and just sent them about. What are we talking? We're talking about how I don't want to buy anything off any Chinese companies anymore because they've all done the same to me. They just won't. They won't fix or stand by their hardware. So Neoden won't replace. My machine's faulty. It's got, like, it's usable. Some parts of it are usable, and some parts it's only usable because I've got severe workarounds in my workflow, and they won't send me replacement parts. They won't. Like, we know what the problem is, and they wouldn't replace the parts. So I gave them the double finger. So, it's just that they don't stand by their products. I know I'm generalizing, but so far my track record is Charmhigh, Neoden, Siglent. Charmhigh, Neoden, Siglent, 3 Chinese companies out of 3. Well, there's more. Again, there's this other stuff which I'll talk about later. And there was I bought I haven't even mentioned the hot air station thing. Anyway, whatever. Doesn't matter. The point is, they sell you a machine and then they're done. They won't sell me replacement parts. They won't give me replacement parts. They won't allow me any way to fix my machine. And they think that's okay. That's what we're talking about. Well, there's still no sign of a fix for the auto open issue. And without the auto open, I can't calibrate the machine. And so anytime I calibrate the machine manually, I'm just guessing. No, Neoden didn't sell me a machine that didn't work at the start, like Charmhigh did. Like that machine never worked properly from the start. I mean, Keen's got the machine right now, and Keen has got the same problems, right? That machine never worked properly. My machine did, but when things started failing, they won't fix them. They won't replace. I've got dead feeders under warranty, and they won't replace them. And I've got, like, I can go to EM Logic and go, you've got to replace these. They have to by law, but they can only replace them with feeders from Neoden. They've got to get them from Neoden to replace them. And Neoden won't ship them. They won't replace my feeders. They say it's a user error. I've got it on video failing multiple times, showing them how they fail. But it's user error. And my cameras are screwed. The lighting modules in my cameras are both screwed. And they won't replace them. Like, blown capacitors on the back controller board, scorch marks on the board. They won't replace the board because it's still working. Like, it's just, yeah. So they haven't done a Charmhigh, but they won't back up their hardware. They won't stand by their hardware. They won't ever accept that something that they made has gone faulty and they need to fix it. So, yeah. And it's annoying. And it just seems to be repeat. Like if Siglent at least gave me a fix for that jumping around open, I could probably use my VNA. But I went through last week and rematched my tiny S3 boards again and got it closer than it's ever been by once again guessing the open position, which was clearly wrong because the measurement that I had to put in to get the matching to even be close to do what it's supposed to do when I, change a value and it moves in the correct direction was 13 millimeters different to what I physically measure my pigtail to. Like if I physically measure the pigtail and I know exactly how long it is, right, that value makes the data go completely wrong. So, yeah. And yeah, Mark's, he's running the same firmware on his. He's got that open jumping around thing, but it doesn't matter. Like when he measures the right length, and it works for him. Mine, it doesn't. So, if they gave me that fix at least, that would be enough to allow me to push forward with the VNA. And I haven't sent it back yet because I'm hopeful that I'll get that because they'll take, like I can send it back, they'll give me my money back. The next entry price for something to replace it, so that was $12.5, is $24,000. It's going to cost me $24,000 to buy a replacement machine that's a VNA SA that can do this bandwidth. And I don't have $24,000. Just hang on a second. Yeah, no. You know what I mean? I think you should do a video on all these machine failures. Yeah, I don't know. I don't want to be the whinging Sion anymore. I'm sick of, like that wasn't great for my channel back during the Charm High days. Like it achieved nothing. Like I got no money back. I got no replacements. I got no working machine. And I had to go out and buy a new machine anyway. So, Sam Vines would like a word. Who? What? Sam Vines. Why is that name familiar? What? So, I'm surprised with Siglent as well. Do you know, during this whole thing, Siglent, who have been CC'd on all of the emails, have not reached out to me once. Not once. All right, one engineer once who sent me a video showing that the calibration kit was correct. Not how to use it on my machine, but it was correct. But that was someone else. That wasn't the Siglent support people, sales and support that are in these emails have never contacted me once. And I've asked about when am I going to get updated firmware. It's been like almost 2 months and nothing. You can try. That'd be great, Mark. You should definitely try. I'm not going to reach out to the US folks because they fobbed me off big time. They wanted me to send them my boards so they could prove to me that it was my boards that were the problem. Which, without a doubt, are not my boards because I could match them on my other cheap VNA. Sam Vine's theory of economic justice. The captain said... Okay, right. Is he still alive? I don't know. And yours doesn't. It's the instrument. Well, he's also matching different things than what I'm matching. Different frequency ranges and stuff. And his machine's a different model. Like it's Mark has the same issue in terms of the open and some weirdness, and the calibration kit is also rotated, but he seems to compensate for it properly. Well, he had to do the maths himself. Why not chat on the stream? Only see it below the video. Oh, because my internet went down. I had to restart everything, and now for some reason I can't get that to come up, that window. It won't populate for some reason. I don't know why. Like it's a browser source to YouTube, and it just won't do it. Unless it's a different address now. Hang on. I wonder if it's a different address. When I had to reconnect to the stream. No, it's not. Same address. Yeah, it's not populating for some reason. Yeah, but it's not the calculations. My calculations that I do externally are fine. It's when I put them back onto the VNA to check that they match, they don't. And that's because the starting point is wrong. And because the starting point is wrong, my calculations are wrong because, you know, I can only start transposing from where the VNA says I'm starting from. So it's a knock-on effect. I saw that. For the VNA, ideally, you could find a trusted third party to verify the issue is with the VNA. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what the problem is. I either return it and get my money back, maybe, if they'll do that. They said they will, but they haven't done it. But then I have to pay $24,000 to find it to buy a replacement unit of the same capability, and I don't have $24,000 spare. So even if I get $12,000 back for this, I don't have a spare $12,000 to add to it to buy it, you know, or I sell it and don't have one, and I need one, and I need something that's more than 3.2 gigahertz because, you know, early next year, hopefully, I'll be working with dual bandwidth chips from Espressive, and I'll be doing, you know, 2.4 and 5 gigahertz, and I need to be able to do 5 gigahertz and beyond. Plus, I need to be able to check for the secondary harmonics issue, so I need to be able to do at least 7 gigahertz. So, so this one was 12K or 11 something, yeah. And the cheapest I can get that I found, I'm not talking about a $1,000 Chinese nano VNA 6 gigahertz something or other that I can get off AliExpress, which I might buy one of those anyway. But a proper VNA, and that isn't a spectrum analyzer. I need the both. I'm looking at a Roden Schwartz. You know, if I go for, I can get cheaper if I go like a Keysight or whatever else, but then it's only a VNA, and I still have to buy a spectrum analyzer. And when I buy them both, then I'm over price. You know what I mean? I'm over $24,000. So, yeah. Hire someone to get the job. Well, I can't really. I've got too many boards to match, and I need a solution going forward. So, but yes, I could. I could farm out the work for now. It would still cost me a bit to get done, but I could send a whole bunch of boards over to someone and get them to match them and to do the filtering to suppress the harmonics and send me back what the values are. I could do that. It'd probably cost me about $3,000 or $4,000 US to get that done. To get, it was about $1,500 to get my Tiny Pico matched. Yeah, about $1,500 US to get the Tiny Pico originally matched. That's cheap. I had to get that done through someone in China, like through the contact I've got in China. He found someone for me. There was no English. That was a bit of a barrier. Higher VNA. No, I need one for longer than I don't even know where I'd hire one that would be something that would like have all the stuff that I need for an extended period of time. I think that would be potentially too expensive. It'd be easier to find someone that had but it's not just these 3 boards. Like I've you know, there's 4 boards. And I need to be able to reproduce the results here myself, so I can tweak and change if I need to. So like my Nano S3, right? I'm not ready to go into production on that. I've got one more board revision respin that I want to check first, because I need to change the stack up on it. So, you know, what would happen if I got my other boards matched? Then I've got an extra board that needs to be matched, and then I've got whatever, you know what I mean? It's just... Yeah, I know there are. They're just really expensive. That's the thing, right? Fun bit of info, that doesn't help. If you have a board with an NRF Nordic chip on it, they'll match it free for you. Yes, they will. Yes, well, Expressive won't. They won't even tell you what the data is you're supposed to match to. So, yeah. It's definitely a... I just need the capability here myself. Especially if I'm going to go through certification. Like, I can't get someone else to match my boards and then go through certification and not be in a position to deal with whatever issues appear from the certification process. Getting someone fixed sounds too hard unless you can get an electronic celebrity. Yeah, I don't need anyone to support the claim. It's yeah. I need a working solution. So if I send that back, get my money back, I can't afford to replace it with something else. And if they just fix this one bug, that will tell me if there's something else with the unit, or whether it's just the fact that I can't start the calibration process. Like, I can't start the 0 position to match from. Like, without getting it to a 0, I can't, any board I plug into it, where it says that I'm starting my match from, could be wrong, right? Like, all they need to do is fix that open. But anyway, swap with Mark. No, Mark's got that same open problem as well. Anyway, give me about a week and then let's talk. Use the fact that I got mine from EU reseller and try to get support to fix mine. Yeah, no worries, we can chat offline. But if I cut my losses and get my money back, what do I then do? I need a solution here. So, you know, as I said, there's nothing else in this price range. The next step up is double the price. So it's just, I'm not made of money, you know. I'm really not. People might think I am, you know. I've got my own production line, I'm in a new factory, you know, I'm selling boards through Pomeroni and Adafruit, and maybe there's an expectation out there that, you know, I'm flush with cash. But I'm not, you know. I'm working 7 days a week, really long hours, just trying to stay afloat and make ends meet. So, you know, every dollar I spend is a gamble, you know. I can't justify doubling what it's going to cost me as an entry level just because they're what? I am not for real? What? Sorry, did you think I was counting all my monies in the back room? I buy milk, I buy a fridge. If it doesn't work properly, I still need a fridge. Yep, exactly. I'm a hologram. No, I am real. I'm just, yeah. Like, I'm, you know, I've had awesome success in what I've been doing through probably no planned part of my own doing. I don't know. But at the end of the day, oh, it's massive income for selling these boards. Yeah. Like, it's, you can make a lot of money at $20 a pop. Not. Well, I need a VNA and a spectrum analyzer, and buying an old second-hand one won't necessarily, you know, again, I don't need a project, I need a working tool. It's, yeah, it's like I'm just living month by month, week by week, month by month at the moment. So you're telling us you don't have a Scrooge McDuck style money pit in the small room upstairs that you bathe in between streams. Yeah. Yeah, I don't have. I wish I did. I don't have. What I have is more bills coming in right now than I have income. But I'm not destitute, but I also, I have a minimum viable window that I can survive like that for. Seems like the Manchester meeting never happened. It really wasn't that long ago. Yeah, I know. It's like, it wasn't that long ago and it feels like years ago. Such a quick trip. Crazy. Yeah. Okay, I think now I really need to get to pick and placing. I spoiled toaster this weekend, so now I need to buy a reflow master to go with it. Woohoo! Wait, is it a vertical toaster or is it? Anyway, yeah, I need another coffee because mine's almost empty, but it's cold. Oh, ouch. Yeah, well, yeah. I'm looking forward to silicon prices dropping. That'd be great. How long it takes every time to get your pick and place running. I waste half an hour every startup. I know it doesn't sound like a lot. It's not the time, it's the frustration of having to do something that is just ridiculous every time I turn the machine on. And if I don't do it, the 1 or 2 times I've gone, it's going to be fine, I pay for it with the hours spent fixing parts afterwards when it just does some weird things because one of the nozzles is completely out. It's just not worth it. Next project, the Bitloony pipe locator. No, we don't need a pipe locator. We knew where the pipes were. They were marked on the boards. To be fair, they did a good job of marking out where the pipes were, not to drill there. There was just a lapse. It was just a lapse in concentration, really. What am I making today? I'm making lots and lots of Feather S3s. Lots and lots. Yep. Yeah. Which is so much fun because, I then have to pack them all. Like I spent the evening, yesterday in the evening, doing this. You can't even see them all. My couch is full of them as well. Like, bags and labels. And putting all the giblets in. Here's a for Adafruit. I mean, this is, and here's a whole bunch of tiny S3s that are going to go out. Like, manufacturing is so much fun. Like, really. The pick and placing and assembly part is the small. That's the small, easy stuff. It's all the rest of the fun stuff, the testing and the bagging and the cleaning and the, yeah. LC is having a discounted shipping for a few days. Yeah, they got 7 till, what is it? The 9th till the 11th or something. There's no automation for putting it in bags. I wish there was, but not these bags. These bags can't be opened by a robot. Not easily. Once again, it's not something that I can easily solve with automation. Yeah. Chelsea has $20 for 6 layer. Might try one. What? Just okay. Cool. Okay. I'm going now. Thank you all for sticking around for so long. There's quite a few of you still concurrent viewers, which is pretty cool. This has been a very long stream. I'm going to go get to work. And I'm sorry about the disappearing internet at the start, or whenever it was. Thanks for all your feedback on the stuff I showed and your thoughts on it, whatever else. I'll keep you all updated on where I go, if I make another revision or not. But yeah, it's been fun. And I hope you all have a fantastic week, rest of the week. Sleep for those who are going to sleep, and a good day for those that are awake now. Yep, okay. Now I'm just waffling. Now to watch from the start and see what this old project is. Yeah, cool. Do it, Michael. You know you want to get bored. Okay. I'll catch you all later. Bye.